Thanks for joining us here on the Go Man podcast. I'm your host, Harley Fox, and today on the podcast we've got Dylan Conway. Dylan was an officer in the Royal Australian Infantry with postings at 1 RAR and 6 RAR. More recently, Dylan is the founder of the charity called Brothers in Books, which is a fantastic charity that you're going to learn about during this podcast. So, excited to share with you today, and let's dig in. Cool. Keep going. You want to start it again?
Oh, I was just going to start. So I was looking at your coin board, and one of the funniest coins that I ever got given in the Australian Army. I was on Operation Flood Assist, and we're staging out of this reserve depot. So it's just essentially a chain fence around, one or two dilapidated buildings with no doubt asbestos in them, right? But it's good enough for the soldiers, good enough for the officers. So we're in there. Most of the boys are out. I'm the 2IC at the time, so I'm just battle tracking, which consists of, looking at my phone and moving the boys around to clean up different houses and hearing about different going-ons.
Oh, yep.
And this guy walks straight in. My boss is asleep where he should be. He was just having a kip. This guy walks in and I go, "Excuse me, mate, can I help you?" He goes, "No, I'm right." I said, "Well, mate, you can't just walk in here." And I start having to go. And maybe there was a bit more back and forth where he just didn't care. And he's just like looking around in this reserve base. And I said, "You cannot be in here, mate." I said, "You're going to have to go." The warrant officer comes out. He sees me like shirt fronting this guy, telling him to F off. And the CSM comes out. He starts having a go at him. And then the boss comes out. He's not doing anything. This guy, "Oh, look, I think you're doing a great job. My old boy has been flooded in down the road. I just wanted to come in, see who's in charge here and say thanks." And he shakes my hand, puts a coin in it, and then walks off. I said, "What the hell?" I look at this coin. It's a SOCOM's coin. And turned out this guy was like a 1 or 2 star general from Special Operations Command who just walked into the base.
What the fuck?
So I Google him like, "Oh, this is a guy, some general, SF guy." And I was like, lucky, like I swore at the dude. Like I got pretty emotional about it. But anyway, that's the funniest coin I ever got. And I give it to one of the soldiers. Like, "Oh, what?" Like, cause it's got all the different special forces units like on the coin for SOCOM. And he's like, "This is great. Where'd you get it?" I'm like, literally a homeless guy walked in here. I try to kick him out, then he's given me this coin. Turns out he's a general. He's like, "Oh, that's fantastic." So I'm sure somewhere in Australia, a board just like this has a funny SOCOM coin on it that they're super proud of that I got because I tried to, shirt front a general.
You just gave it to one of the diggers.
Yeah, I just gave it to one of the diggers. I didn't want it. I didn't do anything to receive it. I felt bad. I didn't want to remember it. Anyway, so this is the funniest part of the story. It's just come up in my memory. So we get back from this flood assist. We just got back from 4 weeks of field. We got back from 4 weeks of field, get told it's flooding in New South Wales, as it does every 6 months, it seems. And we get back from this exercise, back from the flood assist. The CEO comes out to the combat team. Great guy. OC is great. All the soldiers are great. No bullshit stories like that about negativity. But CEO comes out and goes, "Guys, just want to say congratulations. You've done a fantastic job. Specifically, Captain Conway was mentioned from Brigadier General for doing an outstanding job securing." And I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "The soldiers have been out for 4 weeks in the field, 2 weeks out helping all the civilians of Operation Flood Assist. And the only kudos," and keep in mind, 2ICs, we're not doing a lot of war fighting, right? The fun part. And the only acknowledgement of 120 people is when one guy yelled at a civilian who turned out to be a general. I said, "That's ridiculous." They said, "By the way, you guys have got to go to Run Army on the weekend." I said, "Oh, this is..." Anyway, so that's my story about the funniest coin I received.
Nice. I don't have any stories like that. We'll have to fucking chase that one down, see who's got it.
They're good-looking coins.
Yeah. Nice. So, I do all the intros afterwards and fucking just put them in posts so that I've got a nice clean intro.
100%.
But welcome. Thanks for coming.
No, mate, it's good to be here. And I said to you outside, I think, mate, this got legs. I know what you're like as a human being. You don't do anything half-assed. So when I saw you were doing this and then I kept seeing the content, I know this is going to go fast. So my hat goes off to you, mate. I'm excited to watch it grow, which I know that it will.
Awesome, man. Appreciate that a lot. Yeah, I am definitely one of those people that goes all in with whatever I do. If you're going to do something, fucking do it properly.
Well, it's funny. I just I saw a post this morning. Alex Hormozy, as much as you want to hate the guy, right? Good looking, young, rich, more muscles than he knows what to do with, right? And I think he's pretty open about juicing in the past, etc. But the guy is very wise, and he talks about the importance of patience and hard work, and that as a combination. It's rare to see. It's very, very rare to see, but patience is so important with anything, and people give up so often before they get to this changing point.
Yeah, I was reading the stats on it on podcasting, and there's like some fucking ridiculous number, like 50 million, or might even be 500. No, it must be 50 million podcasts. And if you do more than 10, you're already in the top 1%. It's like fucking the top 1%ers of everyone that's got more than 10 podcasts.
Well, that's right. Like
you're number 10, actually.
Yeah. Oh, well, congratulations, mate. And yeah, because people talk about Rogan and stuff like that. It's like, bro, it's consistency. Like the dude's been doing it for 14 years. Yeah. Nothing happens overnight.
It was trash when it started too. Like if you look back at those 1, 2, like you can't even watch them. They're so bad.
Well, Kill Tony now's massive. They're on Netflix. Yeah. The early days of the Kill Tony podcast are just ridiculous.
Yeah, there's like 3 people in the audience.
And now people just absolutely love it.
I fucking love it. Every Monday for the last like 5 or 6 years I've watched Kill Tony.
I can't stop watching. I was just... I was with this CEO, big organization, right? And he described himself, and I hope he doesn't watch this, but I really picked up on it because he's about 42. He looked about 30, so he takes care of himself, fit-looking guy, looks very healthy, and he goes, "Oh, I'm a stoic." And for someone to describe themselves as a stoic, seriously, and then not like smile or anything like that, you're like, oh, fuck, like this guy's seriously a stoic, like he's practicing stoicism. And he goes, but I do watch TV once a week. And I said, what do you watch? He goes, every Tuesday night, me and my wife and my family watch Kill Tony. I just think it is hilarious. So that's like his one thing. So if you want to be a stoic in the 21st century, you can still watch Kill Tony.
Kill Tony's good to go.
Yeah, ex-infantry boy too, actually.
Nice. Fucking, fucking excited to talk to you, actually. Got lots to talk about. But like everyone, fucking start. Where'd you come from? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Biloela, Central Queensland, which I always espouse. I always talk about Central Queensland and Biloela.
Another country boy.
Yeah, another country boy. Like it's crazy living in Brisbane now compared to the country. Like people in the media and stuff talk about Australia and where it's going, and it's like, mate, you want to experience what Australia was like 20 years ago. Like it's still very much available to you. Move it out of the city where the population has grown, XYZ percentage. And go to a country town where the population has more or less remained steady for the past 20 years, and you're going to identify the community, the positivity in the region. So, so I grew up in Central Queensland, Biloela, which I absolutely loved, mate, because you go outside, you jump on a motorbike. I used to go bow hunting after school, mate. I would walk home from school, grab a compound bow and go hunting in my backyard. So it was fantastic. Okay. And, of course, like everybody else that grows up in the country, the Australian Army is a pathway out of the country. When you go through puberty, you think there's better looking girls somewhere else. So well, how can I get out of this town and find them? And Army was my pathway to do that.
Yeah. I think I had a dude on here. I think he said he had fucking 12 people in his high school year. I was like, so fucking basically you all just dated each other and you're all best friends.
That's
like a serious episode of Friends for 4 years.
So it was crazy. So in year 9 or year 10, one of the two, my father wanted to buy a business. The business was in Noosa, and Noosa, gorgeous part of the world. But I also knew bigger population. Let's go see what it's like at a different school. And I got there and there was more people there like I'd suspected. But within about a year and a half, I actually moved out of home to go finish my schooling back in Biloela. So, so I absolutely loved it. So I moved out of home at 16, finished year 12, got a scholarship, and then went to ADFA, and the rest is history.
What'd you miss? What'd you miss about it?
So similar to what I said about cities, it's weird. It's just different. There's no rush. There's backyards. I think just being outside, right? There's this really good book called Lost Connections. I always recommend Lost Connections. Fantastic book by a man called Jahan Hari, I believe. And one of the most important things that he identifies in this book, and the book's mainly targeted towards like mental health, really good book. And one of the most important pillars is your environment and getting outside into nature. And it's so important.
Yeah.
And you live in a place like Biloela. I recently went back to Rockhampton over Christmas. It was fantastic, mate. And it's crazy to me to see, you know, house prices and the economy the way it is. And absolutely, if I was a young person, I'd be whinging as well. I'm not saying anything about that, but it's crazy. Rockhampton, and yes, the prices have gone up through the roof there, but like 20 acres, 10 acres, you can buy for half the price of a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in Brisbane with no backyard. It's absolutely crazy. So I went back to Rockhampton on Christmas holidays. I swear to God, one of the blokes that I grew up with, he's got a driving range that he's set up at the back of his house. The house probably cost him maybe $700K, 5-bedroom home, huge backyard. He's got a driving range. His little boy jumps on a 4-wheel motorbike and drives all around the place. He's then set up his own archery range, got his own garden, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's just fantastic out in the country. You can't beat it. And he sits out there like a little king.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy how we all get caught in this fucking idea of what success and life should look like. And then we forgo all of that, like fucking, yeah. Yeah, I often, you know, long for that sort of lifestyle. I saw this house out near Mount Tamborine the other day. I sent it to Rainer, actually. It was 2.5 mil, which is still quite a lot, but it's like 17 acres. It's got a fucking motocross track on it. It's got fucking a big, it's on the Canungra River. Like, fucking imagine, like, yeah, just getting out of it and living there.
Well, you just long for a ride as a man. Something in your loins that makes you go, I just want to. You know, you can see why, you know, you hear about the conditions when people were traveling overseas on old boats, you know, to get from point A to B, Spanish Armada and stuff, and people, rampant disease. But as blokes especially, you go, hey, do you want to get on this ship? You go, yeah, why not? It's just that thirst for adventure, I reckon.
Yeah. That's probably why we get out and do all the hiking and overnighting and stuff, just getting out in nature and switching off from everything. It's magical,
mate. Absolutely. I was at a coffee store this morning, and there's some big trees in the background. Looking at my phone like everyone does, and I noticed these trees in the background. I just thought, how good's this? And then I looked around, and just everybody's on their phone, and it's only going to get worse. And I thought two things. I thought, how good's the world when you wake up, and the difference that it makes as well to be someone that's not on their phone all the time, and what you would notice in your life if you weren't. And then I thought, imagine being a business so big that when you go and get a coffee, you look down and you see your product in everybody's bloody hands, and they're doing nothing but staring at your product. So good on Tim Cook. Good on Tim Cook.
Fucking hell. Yeah, I was actually was talking to someone today, my EP actually, about just the fucking technology and stuff. And he said the best thing for productivity is boredom. So if you want to be productive, sit without the TV on and without your phone in your hand, and within minutes you'll be like, just put a load of washing on.
Mate, I was reading something the other day, and it said every single revolutionary idea or idea that has changed the world has come from one thing, and it is a man or a woman, he said man, but man or a woman sitting alone with a notebook and pen and their ideas, right? And that's where every massive change comes, because it allows you to sit there and actually think, critically think, and then write down a plan, write down your thoughts, consolidate, and then push onwards from there. And business is no difference to conducting a military operations, where time and reconnaissance is seldom wasted. And right now there is hardly any reconnaissance going on in people's lives because they're too busy looking at their phones, distracting themselves.
Such a distraction.
It's crazy.
Yeah. The amount of hours, like that phone will even fucking tell you how much time you've spent on social media.
But no one looks at that.
No, fuck, you don't want to know. Imagine what I could have done with those fucking 40 hours a week of staring at my phone.
Well, something that really helped me, a quote that really helped me, and Dan Pronk said it, and it really, I don't think he said it thinking that someone would pick up on it, but it was really wise. And he said, I try and think about my ability to content create as opposed to content consume. And if I'm content consuming more than I'm content creating, then I'm doing something wrong. And content, not the form of social media. It might be writing a book. It might be, doing something like this. But if my consumption is more than my creativity, then how on earth am I supposed to move forward?
Yeah, fuck yeah. That's a good point. Well, all my time goes to content creation at the moment.
Yeah. And you're smashing it out of the park.
So yeah, fucking Billawilla. Did you have any jobs after school, or what were you into?
Oh, back then, mate. So I was a bit of a rowdy kid. So like a lot of people that read Mark Donaldson's book, The Crossroads, it really resonated with me. When I was, I got my first tattoo when I was, I think, 13.
Oh, shit.
I started drinking at the age of like 14, doing drugs at the same time. I was out all the time. I spoke to my mother about this recently, and I have a great relationship with my parents. It's not like they were bad parents. I might have been a bad kid. And by bad kid, I mean just a young bloke that had the freedom of action to do what he wants. Because I'll tell you what all young blokes would do if they had the freedom to do it. And it's probably experiment with alcohol, drugs, smoking, women, etc., etc. Skate all day, ride their bike all day, or these days game all day, right? And I spoke to my mum and I said, I was getting up to some wild shit. What's the go? And she just said, I think it's important that as a young man, as a young person, that you're given the opportunity to do whatever it is that you like. So to answer your question in long form, mate, I was in everything. Skating, bike riding. I used to do a little bit of boxing. I don't want to test my boxing out with yourself. Rugby league. And then I think I gamed as well. And then where I could, I tried to kiss pretty women like most young kids do.
Yeah.
But that was my childhood. And there's a really good book by Steve Magnuson, and it's called Do Hard Things. And it talks about how we get it wrong in the military about trying to impose resilience by forcing people to do things a certain way. And what his argument is it's actually back to front. If you tell people within a large left and right of arc to get something done, that the resilience that is garnered from learning to do it yourself is much better than rote learning, let's say taking apart a rifle. If I was to come to you first time you ever see some sort of weapon system and I say, figure it out. I want you to strip it, clean it, load it, unload it, make safe, etc., etc. And then I just leave you go. And you've got a test in 2 hours at the end of it. The learning that you will go through will be much deeper than if I stand in front of you and go like this, do that.
Yeah, right.
So I think my childhood embodied that, similar to Mark Donaldson's bloody wayward ways as a young man.
Yeah, right. Experimenting.
That's right. Yeah, experimenting, learning, and then moving forward.
I'm sure when I'm editing this, I'll write down all these book names.
No, you're right. But yeah, so, and then, mate, I don't know how I did it. When I was in year 12, and I'll give you the hot scoop, mate, I would skip school to go to the gym. I started taking steroids when I was about 16 in school, and I would skip school and go to the gym with my brother. My brother, who, by the way, is like an OP1 student. And I got fortunate as well to be quite good at mathematics and physics, and I was passionate about those things just because of a couple of good teachers.
Yeah.
But I had the most amount of days missing from school before they contacted your guardians or your parents or whatever it was.
Yeah, right.
And before you started losing grades. So I figured out how many days I could miss. And then I missed the top limit before it was reported on. And then I thought, well, hey, you know what? I'm pretty good at breaking the rules. Let's go be an officer and tell people to follow them. But no, I did. I got a scholarship to ADFA. Super lucky. Like I said, I think they lower the standards to get more people in, I think, when it comes to IQ and stuff like that. But for young Australians that are looking for an opportunity to get a free university degree, ADFA is such a pathway. These days, though, I wouldn't recommend young people go to university unless they want some sort of quantitative degree like engineering, law, medicine. good luck to everybody else, because it's so funny. Every election it comes up about wiping student debt. Well, let's have a look at why the university prices are so high. As someone that runs a not-for-profit charity, right? All these universities in Australia, they run as not-for-profit, and then they run at a loss. So they're losing money every year. The government then pays them more money to continue to provide the education, and then all these young people, and they then jack up the prices, as we see with the price of university these days. Then all these young people get into debt. They don't even understand how to get a credit card, what money means. You don't know how to do a tax return. And the first thing you do out of school is sign up to a $55,000 degree in a topic that most people will never use in their life, or they'll change multiple times. And then it's up to the taxpayer to then write off the debt that they've gone into, not by giving students the cash, by giving the universities that are running at a $20 million loss the cash. So, yeah, it's crazy, mate. So, yeah, the scholarship, I couldn't imagine having a HECS debt as a young person in this day and age.
55 was exactly how much my HECS debt was.
Yeah. So, I promise I'm not making this stuff up. Look into it. It's absolutely cooked, mate. And I didn't realize just how much the HECS debt was impacting people until one day I was sitting down having breakfast with a business owner mate of mine, and he runs this huge business. If he sends out an EDM to his audience, he'll make $26,000 worth of sales in like an hour, right? So it wasn't a small business. And he said to me, he goes, mate, have you seen the indexation on bloody HECS debt? And I said, you noticed it? And he goes, yeah, mate, it's exorbitant. And I just went, holy shit, this must be hitting people hard. And yeah, that was when I like, oh man, that sucks. Because here's someone who's an engineer by trade feeling the heat.
That was during COVID, they fucking skyrocketed.
That's right.
It went from like 1.5% to 7.6%.
That's right.
That was fucking loose. I paid 1 year, I went, my tax bill was like, my tax refund or whatever was 5,500 or something, and then the my HECS bill was $5,000 because of the indexation fee. So I $500 went to my HECS bill. So for a $55,000 debt, I paid $500 off. And I was like, they're literally going to die with this. There's no fucking chance of ever paying this off.
Yeah,
I have now. I got lucky. Daddy DVA covered it. But
yeah.
Fucking, there was like a normal person. How the fuck are you ever going to, if you're paying $500 a year for a $55,000 debt, you're never going to get rid of it.
Mate, it's cooked. And what I say to people these days is, I got a master's degree in business, right? And again, thank God for Army. Applied for the master's scholarship, whatever, got it. Mate, I would swap that $50,000 degree for the 10 best books in business, right?
Yeah.
And how universities can charge that amount of money for lecturers that don't change the course or can't even mark an assignment for 4 weeks. You wait 4 weeks to get your assignment marked, and you're like, what else are you guys bloody doing? It is ridiculous. You can go on ChatGPT 4 or whatever right now on your phone and go write a university course for this specific topic. Then you can go do up all the PowerPoints and presentations, do up all the recommended readings from the best authors in the world on this topic, and you can write the university course in about 5 minutes flat. How that's worth $6,500, I have no idea, especially if you were to just do it yourself. So it's sorry to get on the topic.
The problem is all the expectations of qualifications. Like, yeah, I could learn how to be an accountant, but unless I've got my fucking government approved qualification on a piece of paper, well, then no one will give me a job.
Right. So it depends what you want to do in life, right? And the other day I went to the ballet. I don't go to the ballet often, but I got invited to go to the ballet with one of the wealthiest organizations that I've ever come across, and a couple of key players, right? And we're there. And I was there with a young doctor. She's around 23. And this organization is an angel investing company. So they're a wealth capital firm. They identify people with good ideas, and then they throw millions of dollars at them so that they can turn those good ideas into billion-dollar ideas, right? And this young doctor, OP1 student, top of the class. I'm pretty sure she started like a consulting company while she was going through medicine to pay for a medical degree. Smart girl. And I said to her, maybe you can identify something in the medical space that will revolutionize X, Y, or Z. And she goes, oh, no. I've only been a doctor for X amount of years, 1 or 2. I absolutely couldn't do that. And the lady from this seed fund said, you're the exact person that we're looking for. We don't want anybody over 30. 95% of the entrepreneurs that end up revolutionizing some sort of sector are young. And they're young because they're not stuck in their ways and they can see things different.
Yeah.
So it's funny when you mention the qualifications, because what's the end state of the qualification? A job for somebody else? If you truly want to revolutionize something or follow your passion, the statistics would say that to truly make a difference, you got to go off the beaten path. And, it's funny because I point out every single, major business owner in the world, people that you could argue are the modern day, Galileos, or they all dropped out of university because they're willing to take a risk. But wouldn't it be great if we were to tell children, hey, the most successful people in the world are all young, and they're young and they're successful because they don't accept the status quo, status quo. So, but yeah, the election that just went past when they talk about wiping student debt, and like, let's look at the university's fucking accounting, because where's all this money going? I'll tell you, it goes into all their infrastructure, and they just keep building and running at a loss. It's mental. And obviously,
the lecturers aren't on a fucking small salary either.
That's right. And 50% of their job is gaining grants for the charity, for the university, as opposed to teaching the students. Good times.
The whole fucking, you see all the the memes and the reels and stuff about fucking Musk and whoever else, that how they didn't, they dropped out, they didn't do well, they didn't fucking study conventionally, and look at them now. But nobody's willing to take that risk. It's not early anyway, or especially not if you're raised in that 9 to 5, get a job, go to school,
which is everyone, right? Because it's the Prussian education system.
Yeah. So who are these, and what are they doing, and how are they doing it?
There's, not to get conspiratorial, but there's a good quote as they brought in the Prussian education system into America, right? And the reason it's called the Prussian education system is because after a certain war in Prussia at the time, the elites, the government, they needed to figure out a way so that the main population of the country they just invaded forgot about the fact they hate the country that just invaded them, right? So they came up with the Prussian education system. So within one generation of schooling, there was no hatred or love lost towards the people that just literally ransacked their entire community.
Yeah, right.
And so America looked at that and they said, holy shit, that is effective. And then since then, they've been using it in American schools and therefore Australian schools as well. And that's how the Prussian education system came to be. And at the time, the American Board of Education wasn't a government department. It was actually a self-funded private entity that became the government. And that self-private funded entity that forced Prussian education system onto all of America actually come from, and this is going to sound conspiratorial as hell, and I might be getting it wrong here, but it was the oil tycoon. I believe it was either Rothschild or one of them. And he said, I don't need a country of thinkers. I need a country of workers to keep up with the demand of how well everything was going in the industrial age.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
The school system was developed in the early 1800s to create disciplined citizens and efficient workers. It introduced compulsory education, grade levels, and standardized curricula. American educators, including Horace Mann, studied the Prussian model and implemented similar systems in the U.S. By the late 19th century, public education in America adopted standardized, tax-funded schooling with structured schedules and age-based grades. The influence of the Prussian system remains. Schools today still follow rigid schedules, grade divisions, and a standardized curriculum, originally designed for an industrial society. For some reference, the picture on the left is from a Prussian classroom. the one on the right from a Prussian factory line of workers.
It's fucking crazy. I remember learning about this and being like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. Well, it's got to be fucking something because the whole world's in this fucking hamster wheel that we can't seem to break away from. Have you got any kids?
No, I don't have any kids yet, no.
Yeah, just watching it with my daughter, it's just like, fucking get good grades and it's like the most important thing. And I'm like, is it though? Like, how about just fucking health and happiness and let her just find her own way? But, on the flip side of that, she could end up being a fucking, a cleaner. Not to disparage cleaners, but, just cleaning toilets for the rest of her life if she's not the creative type. So, you got to find that balance, I guess.
And again, won't say names here, but I heard a fleeting comment. I was having a beer, wealthy guy, owned a couple of businesses, this fella. And I was talking about how stupid it is that, obviously I run the charity Brothers and Books, where if we were able to get more people reading books in their own time, that they would come to these same conclusions about what their life's purpose is. Perhaps they would find something interesting. The more you read, the more places you go. Dr. What's his name? I should know this, Dr. Seuss. He's got that fantastic quote. Anyway, he looked at me and he goes, Dylan, you know why we can't do what you want to do and get everybody reading books? And I said, no, why? He goes, because if there's not people like that, and he pointed to the bartender, he goes, how can we be people like this? And I said, that's so fucked. But he's not wrong, is he?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not wrong.
Yeah, the world needs cleaners and baristas. And
it's absolutely, and not there's anything against those trades or occupations.
Yeah. It's just what you want in life, I guess.
Oh,
I know plenty of baristas that fucking
love their life. 100%, yeah.
They save up, they travel, fucking do what they want to do.
Yeah, exactly right. Whereas
chill.
A lot of rich people you probably know in your life fucking hate their lives.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah. But yes, so I joined the army. I went to ADFA, went to RMC, and then popped out the other end as a infantry officer at the 1st Battalion. I had a great time there, learned a lot about leadership.
Where's that at?
So that was in Townsville at 1RAR.
Oh, yeah.
And the first week I got there, we had a guy called Jason Grote as the CO, and he won't mind me saying this. He's still in the Defence Force, really great officer. And my first day, we rocked up, and so we've got all the lieutenants, brand new lieutenants, green as anything. And if you've never been in the Defence Force, you're in charge, but you've also never done the job. So there's 36 people that have done the job, ranging from 1 year to bloody 20 years, and you're in charge of them. So if you can imagine, you're sort of like a meerkat that knows there's bloody prey, something's going to eat it. So you're very observant of the situation. And there's 6 lieutenants, just like me, standing there. And then another lieutenant that walks up. Now, he's not wearing a hat. He's got chewing tobacco in his mouth. And in one of his hands, he's holding a chewing tobacco bottle. And he comes up, he goes, hey, boys, you new lieutenants as well? We said, yeah, never seen this guy. And he goes, about to see the COAs? I go, yeah. He goes, spits in his bloody bottle and goes, yeah, just call him Jace. He hates it. Hates it when people call him sir. I said, listen, mate, I'm not going to do that. I said, I don't give a shit. I don't know who you are. I said, I'm not doing that. Shut the fuck up. He goes up, spits in his bottle again. He goes, all right, well, you're an idiot, mate, because I know Jace pretty well. Turns out this fella, he'd just been, from all accounts, he'd done the right thing, but was sacked by mistake, essentially. So the people that were under him backed him. There's some ex-SASR major who'd been bumped down to lieutenant, who'd been sent to 1RAR. And he was good friends with the CO. But yeah, and that was my first day in the army. I then walked over to my company after avoiding this problem or quandary that I almost got in. And then I ran into a captain. He said, hey, you must be the new lieutenant. I said, yeah. He goes, sweet. He goes, oh, I've got to go. Here's 6 PNG warrant officers. Oh, they hardly speak English. Need you to show them around the battalion. I said, I've never been here before in my life. He goes, see you later, mate. So I take them over to what I assume was my office. And I said, I think this is my office. Like, oh, yeah, nice. And I took them to the cages. I said, I think these are my cages. Like, oh, yeah, I think they're my size. You guys know who are your new bosses? I think it's something Conway guy. I'm like, yeah, these are my soldiers. and then 4 hours later, I get called in to do a fact finder. That was day one. By the end of the day, I was going to court the next day to accompany 2 soldiers who had allegedly either driven drunk or were involved in domestic violence. And then that was my second day. So I was court all day for my second day. And then the following Monday, the following Monday at the unit, we did a 16-kilometre air mobile operations platoon-sized live fire where it was still summer in Townsville, and I had, I think, 8 soldiers go down with heat, and myself included, who'd just been living in Canberra for 4 years, who knew very well that if I go down in this exercise, my first ever attempt at being a platoon commander, it will be carried with me for the rest of my career. So I shit you not, I was so dehydrated because I was not acclimatized at all. I was so dehydrated that we were about to go into an ambush. We've just done 10 kilometers. I've lost 7 soldiers to no duff prior to heat casualties. And I'm briefing the secos. This is a true fucking story, with my flick knife on the map where I've blown up the ambush site and trying to show them where they all are. And as I go to show the first section commander where he's going to be in the ambush, my hand cramps up and I drop the knife, and he just looks at me and goes, "You're right, boss." I said, I'm pretty fucking dehydrated, man. He goes, "You need a second?" I said, "Nah, just can you pick up that knife?" So I'm there with a hand, and you might be able to see it actually in the podcast. I'm there with a claw hand from that horror movie going, "Yep." So I pointed that. "Good on your wheels. Yeah, that'll be where you are, mate. Point to that other one. That'll be where you are, mate." And it's middle of the night at this point. And we do a quick recce with just the secos. And then I come back, give the confirmatory orders, and I say, "Just one change to the ambush orders I give you." And they said, "What's that?" And I said, "I won't be walking you in to your different positions." They go, "Why is that?" I said, "Because I'm about to go down with heat, mate." And I said, "We've been working together now for a while, boys. I trust you." I'd been there for a week. They go, "What the fuck is going on?" Anyway, so because they had the onus on them, of course they fucking nailed it, right? They all had radio comms. They'd all confirmed their access. But then they left the ambush go all night as they're doing training exercise, 4 hours. That entire 4 hours, I was lying down on my guts with my cig, vomiting on myself, trying to hide the noises of throwing up, not for my own ego and hubris, hiding the fact that I'm so sick in front of my platoon, but for the actual exercise to be you can't just keep throwing up in your own ambush. Anyway, so we do the ambush, we hump 6 Ks out to the helicopters, we get out of there, and the next day, one of my mates is given orders for the same thing. He had to do a redo because he did go down with heat. He had 11 soldiers go down with heat. It was fucked. And they're all shooting off access. It was so early in the year. We shouldn't have done it. But of course, it was some ex-SASR major that had put together this exercise, that lieutenant that tried to stitch me up. It was wild. He'd been there for a week. He wouldn't. Anyway, so I'm there to support him, watching his orders, and it's the next day. I haven't slept. I'm still so cooked. The RSM comes up to me. A lot of people would know his name, Taz McGinley, real tall guy, great leader, infantry RSM, slaps me on the back, almost knocks me over and goes, "Boss, you don't know what last night," and I don't know how PG this podcast is, so just a bit of a warning here. He goes, "Boss, you don't know, but last night, me and the CO got out there as you went into the ambush, and we were there all night." He goes, "I could hear you throwing up on yourself, and one of the safety staff, a captain, come over to you and said, 'Hey mate, you're fucked. You've got to go.'" And I said, "Fuck, I'm fucking staying here. I don't give a shit." And he goes, "And my cock boss was like this." And I said, "Oh, thank you very much, RSM. I'm very sick." I said, "I don't know if it's the right decision." I said, "My IQ is about half the points," is what it was. He goes, "Good on you, mate." I didn't say mate, said sir. And I was like, "All right, yeah, fuck yeah." But
well done, that.
Yeah, so I still, the secos every couple of years still text me and be like, "Remember that fucking time?" And I go, "Yeah, good on you."
Fucking speaking of having people in from fucking 1 day to 20 years, how old were you when you were?
Yeah, so I was pretty young. I was 20 years old when I was a platoon commander.
So coming in as a 20-year-old, how'd that feel, fucking having 20-year fucking sergeants and stuff under your command?
Well, soldiers always fucking argue this point with me, but I always say the same thing because it's the truth. And as much as I'd love to be a lawyer, I can't. I was very well prepared because at ADFA and RMC, the only thing that sergeants and captains fucking tell you while you're there is that your soldiers are smarter than you. Your soldiers are fitter than you.
Listen to yourself, guys.
And so constantly for 4 years straight, I had been told that I was walking into a platoon that was filled with neurosurgeons, doctors, physicists, fucking nuclear scientists. So I was fully prepared for them to be so much overwhelmingly better than me. So I was prepared and it was fine. And of course, that was bullshit. Hence why I'm accompanying one to fucking court the next day for drink driving on base. And when I asked, I said, why'd you do it? He goes, because I wanted some KFC and I've been drinking piss all day at the lines. I said, fuck, mate, you could have fucking walked. And then in the court hearing, the judge says this is a true story, mate. My second day at work, I'm in a Townsville magistrate's court in camouflage with this guy, and bless him, you know, I got nothing against this young fella, and he was young as well at the time. He'd look back and laugh. So I've got no problem saying this 13 years ago. And the judge says to him, mate, do you need a license for work? And I know he lives on base, so he doesn't fucking need a license for work. He goes, because if you need a license for work, we can't deal with this today. It's going to need to be adjourned for another 12 months so we can have a proper look. You can get your documentation in. And he looks at the soldiers. He goes, so what is it? And I'm supposed to just be sitting in the back observing and recording what's been going on. And this soldier goes, yeah, I definitely need a work license. And I said, like I'm in some sort of sitcom, I go, Your Honor. And he goes, who the fuck are you? I go, Your Honor, I'm his boss. I said, he does not need a work license. I said, he's currently living next to his work. It's 50 meters away. He can walk 50 meters. I think he is confused. I said, he doesn't need a work license though. So can we please formalize this today so that, you know, this poor kid doesn't need to keep coming into the court. And he looks at the soldier. He goes, is that true? He goes, yeah. He goes, so you don't need a work license. He goes, looks at me. I'm like, no, mate. And he goes, no, I do not. And he goes, well, in that case, $500, you know, fucking this, X, Y, Z, and it's sorted out. And I just went, what the fuck sort of job is this? I've gone from showcasing international people that don't speak English around day one to now speaking up in a courtroom for a trial that I wasn't supposed to be at. And then to make it worse, once his case was complete, there was a domestic violence trial I had to attend and record the same results. So I'm standing there in line to go into the domestic violence court, and I'm about, like I said, 20 at the time. There's all these gorgeous lawyers, and I'm actually not proposed, but not engaged, sorry, but my girlfriend at the moment is a gorgeous lawyer. So I'm around all these gorgeous women, and they are fucking death staring me because I'm in the line to go into the court for domestic violence. And I'm just like looking at them like, it's not me. It's actually not me. So that was my second day of work. It was fucking awful. Yeah. Awful.
Fucking all of the things. Babysitting a bunch of fucking herding cats and babysitting children and all the anecdotes.
Yeah, but it was great. My career in the Army, I always speak so highly of the Army. The Army's given me everything I have today, I think, in the current nature and environment of Australia and Western society, and with the things that we were talking about earlier about technology and just how much it's consuming our attention. I think the Australian Army, or any army, is so vital for young people's growing up and their experience to start gaining those skills of, you know, determination, resilience, mindset, but also discipline to get up and do things the right way. So yeah, the army was great.
Yeah, massive difference in personality and growth. I remember when I got out of the Navy, I was 25, I think. But then sort of re-assimilating with civilians and seeing like how they live and how they sort of integrate. And you're like, man, like we even did a course in the Navy called Living in Communal Harmony because, you know, you got to live on a ship with people, right? So even though they're just looking after you, like tidying up after yourself and fucking just being a good cunt. And then, yeah, just seeing how, like, civilians are just, you know, zero fucks, is leave shit everywhere and fucking, you know, don't flush the toilet or don't wash the dishes or, you know, it's like, it makes a massive difference to the growth of, it should be fucking compulsory.
Yeah. Well, you know, and it's a shame as well. And that especially Australia, like we have lost a lot of our identity. We can't seem to quite harmonise and unionise the past with the present. And I think that's really led to a detrimental effect in communities and society in general, because we don't have anything fucking in common. Like I go to bed and I hit the pillow and go, fuck, we just need something that really binds us together. And you know, I'm apolitical on so many things. I'm a realist. I sit on the fence. If I'm shown new information, I'll be like, oh, okay, I wasn't aware of that. I'm curiously minded, and people will say that's a payoff, so you can fucking get away with, you know, thinking certain things. But with Australia Day, I don't care what the solution is, but we really need just a day or something to bring us all together. And that's why I think Anzac Day now in the Australian calendar, this is no shit stuff. It's so much more important than Australia Day in the current climate. And it does, and it gives us all something to come together. So we really need something in the zeitgeist of our national identity to once again unionize us so that we can have that same experience that defense members get when they have this closeness of shared values so that, you know, they can perform as a team. Because as a country right now, it's just so fragmented and shit, unfortunately.
Everyone's looking for something to fucking whinge about, but the easiest solution to that seems to be just change the date.
Oh, well, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Change the date, make the fucking Indigenous community happy, and fucking done.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Change the fucking names. Come up with something to bring us all together. But right now, I just, I get so disheartened by obvious political football to keep something continuing, right? Because, you know, it's so funny. In politics, especially, like our leaders will be the first ones to talk about, you know, how horrible racism, sexism, all these things are. But when you're running a political campaign, the way that you break down how you're going to receive voters is, what a surprise. What's their nationality? What's their age? What's their gender? So the only people even thinking about other people in those stupid categories are the same fucking people that go, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. When realistically they're going, okay, what's our policy for that? Oh, okay, well, that's going to be really good with the African community that make up this amount of population. And so they're just putting everybody in boxes the same way that data companies do, advertisers do, et cetera, et cetera.
How did you get integrated with the political side of stuff?
Well, coming out of the army, I had a couple of really good mentors in my life and a number of really good leaders, and those leaders just happened to move into politics. But for myself, being an officer in the Australian Army was obviously very rewarding to me. I really loved hanging out with the soldiers, providing guidance where I could. A lot of the time, by the way, it doesn't come down to rank or knowledge or training. It just comes down to age, right? If you're the oldest guy, you're going to have some good wisdom to pass on, which is so funny because people think, you know, what's the difference between a private and a lieutenant? You know, we went to Singleton to train, we're harder than you. And the officer's like, nah, man, RMC is pretty tough. But I've always said and thought and experienced, and my perception of the Australian Army is that the only thing that makes a difference in anybody's rank and ability is their access to information, right? So if I was to go and tell one of my privates, hey, mate, you're the CO, obviously he would shit himself. I'd then tell him about the amount of salary that he's going to be on, and he'd be like, oh, no, we'll give it a crack.
Make it work.
Right. So he goes into the office. He's then got an OPSO come in, and he briefs him on what's happening for the plans, what the different companies are doing, how they're training. And he goes, okay, seems reasonable. I understand that this company's doing that company's doing this, and this company's having a rest because it's just done that, right? So now he's tracking the operations of the battalion because he's been given the information. So a private has just gotten across the board with a battalion level of operations just because he's received a brief. The XO then comes in, briefs this private, is now the CEO, goes, hey, so these are the disciplinary issues that we've got. These are the welfare issues. This is what we're doing about it. These are the different support mechanisms that we're using. And there's a total of this many soldiers, but we're pretty happy with it. He goes, well, I'm talking the welfare, the operations. the only difference in anybody's leadership ability is the access to information that they have, right? And obviously, when I came out of the military, I knew what I wanted to do was spread the importance of education. And the easiest way to spread the importance of education is by sending out books. So we've now done over $500,000 of free books going to different organizations so that they can grab a book wherever they go, so that no private, no CO, no civilian, no copper, no fiery, no emergency service member doesn't have access to the information that would allow them to be able to achieve what they can achieve if they had access to the information. And so I ran the charity for a number of years, and I learned a lot in the not-for-profit space. Mainly that charity is exactly the same as a company. So there's a lot of people in the veteran space, especially, that look at the ACNC records for charities and their spending, and they go, what the hell? You're spending $700,000 a year on, let's say, salaries, right? How's that helping the people? Well, the thing about charities is that they're completely not sustainable. Most charities are started with a government relationship, right? So it'll just spring up out of thin air. So to be sustainable in the charity space, a lot of the time they're not. They've got to rely on donations, and then to get the good talent in there for them to deliver the impact, they've got to hire smart people to then go out and do that. So I was in the charity space for a number of years, and the next step up from running a not-for-profit where you're trying to help people. So I've gone from being a leader in the army to running a charity, trying to help as many people as possible, and then interacting with politicians all the time and going, okay, well, the next step up to be able to espouse my vision of the future. And Thomas Sowell, great economist, he called me the vision of the anointed, where you think that you could do things better than other people, right? And every politician must think that at some point in their career, right? There's a little bit of ego and a lack of hubris. And so I guess I have that too. And I said, well, if I want to do this at scale, if I want to increase someone's likelihood of picking up a book that can change their life and make them go from being a private to being a CO because of the information that they now have, then the best way for me to do that and the most impact that I could have is to be a federal level politician and get into the education department and start to try and change things from that point of view when there's an unlimited bucket of money, which is the Australian taxpayer. And keep in mind, I didn't get into federal parliament. So I can say there's unlimited amount of money to make the changes that you want to see in the world.
Gotcha.
And I think everything starts at education every single time, and how we aren't focusing all of our efforts and all of our funds into that space is just crazy to me. When you look at other countries, Israel, it's a bad example because of everything that they're doing right now in the Middle East. But before all of that, their government, they don't have resources. They don't have coal. And look, I may be mistaken about this, but they've got minimal coal, minimal gas, but they're a powerhouse, a huge powerhouse on the national level. Why? Well, because they invest so much money into education. They then invest money into how to set up businesses and scale. Whilst they're in their school, they then have mandatory military training. So every single one of them then joins the military. So they get those networks, right? So they've been taught how to set up a business and scale it. Then they get mates who are also bright-minded because they've gone through the same education. They then go turn around afterwards, start a business, sell it to the highest bidder, and that brings all their revenue into their company. Country. It's the same, right? Just different macroeconomics. How we aren't doing that here in Australia to look at R&D, how we can be innovating, how we can be focusing on education to make the entire population of Australia not only more resilient, not only more mindful, not only more educated, but to really, plant Australia on the world stage and achieve all the things that politicians constantly talk about, like reducing carbon, reducing inequality, boosting welfare payments. Well, you want to do all that. Well, give your country's children the education so that they can start bringing money into the country, and then you can, same as I wanted to do with education, you can follow your passions as a federal MP and really bolster something else, home care services or aged care services or whatever your background is in your life, and really focus on that and try and make that better. But it's really interesting because you hear all the time, there's so much wealth inequality in the world. Yeah, there's billionaires. We've got to tax billionaires. crazy. The poverty rate in Australia and other Western countries is the lowest it has ever been right now, right? Whilst wealth inequality is also the highest it's ever been. Go to a country without a single billionaire. How do they live?
Happily.
Well, happily as well, but completely impoverished, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because their governments don't give them the institutions to be able to create wealth that trickles down to the rest of the people. And whilst obviously, ethically, you can look at a billionaire and go, obviously that shouldn't be on. But people should have the ability in their lives, the safety, the education, and I say safety, with a good crime and judicial system. They should be free from someone else stealing their ideas. So they need to have a good legal system so that they can patent things, and then potentially they can make $1 billion, right? But you're not going to get mad at them for being successful, for utilizing the institutions in a great country that allowed them to get to that.
Yeah.
Once they get to that, guess where that money goes? Well, it goes back into all those different things. Whereas if you go to Africa, and Africa's an interesting one, but if you go to a country without billionaires, without self-made billionaires that didn't have a university education, didn't have access to libraries like, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, all the big ones, right? They dropped out of university, but they had access to libraries growing up. Then, unfortunately, history would say that those countries remain poor, and that's a fucking shame. So I just think we need to really focus on education here in Australia as we face a number of different crises into the future, and specifically, and where my passion came from was simply mental health. Just more people reading, focusing their attention, being mindful in their own lives. You can't think about much else when you're reading a book. You can't think about, oh shit, I got to get up this time. Oh shit, I got to do that. Or my finances. Whilst you're reading a book, it's like meditation. You're doing one task, you're completely still, you're taking on information, and it's adding to all the different pathways in your brain and how you see the world. And when it comes to mental health and reading, it's so crazy. My partner, she's a compensation lawyer. So she assists a little guy when they get injured at work, right? Similar to the DVA process, except the crazy thing about DVA is none of them have fucking law degrees, which is outlandish. So an advocate is essentially a compensation lawyer. The difference is, one, there's no pathway to be an advocate outside of watching another advocate for 2 years, which is wild. The other one is a 6-year degree after receiving an honours award in your high school and in your university to get a law degree, which is, again, wild. So, yeah, where I was going with that is in the mental health space. My partner, the compensation lawyer, she just spoke to someone the other day. One of the people that have been injured. I think he had his hand blown off in a coal mining incident. Right?
Yeah, right.
Feeling real sorry for himself. Reads the book The Happiest Man on Earth by Eddie Jacku. Right? He's lost his fucking hand. Life's shit. He was like 40 years old, doing really well. He was a contractor, owned his own business. Hand blows off. Reads this book and goes, shit. My life's pretty good. He then, because he's a business-minded guy, he's on LinkedIn, he saw Haley, my partner, and then he came across me and went, this guy's putting that book in all these community libraries as part of the charity. He goes, how bloody good is that? That book changed my entire life. And for me, when I talk about impact and why I was motivated to go into politics, because I thought I'd be able to have more impact and lead more horses to the water.
Yeah.
For me, I think, as far as cost effectiveness goes, getting books like that into people's hands that need them, and then talking about the importance of reading so that more people do read, that's the best bang for buck ever.
Yeah.
$15 change your life. Happiest man on earth. I did a speech for a school the other day for Padua High School. Yeah. And they asked if I could bring an emergency service member in because, kids love people in uniform, right? As we did as well. That's why we fucking joined. We joined the Defence Force. So I could keep playing with trucks and guns. And so I bring this copper along. I won't say his name. And he goes, what are we going to do? I go, it's all right, mate. The speech is in 3 parts. I'll deliver the speech, and then I'll ask you questions about your everyday. And so the first part of the speech, we talked about frames of reference and being able to change your frames of reference when things are going wrong in your life. And so, and I invite the audience to do this right now as well. I got him to close his eyes. So close your eyes, and I want you to imagine going to work. You wake up, you check your phone, you realize that your alarm hasn't gone off, you're 40 minutes late. And not only are you 40 minutes late, you had a super important meeting that your boss was relying you on. So
This is literally my worst nightmare.
So you quickly jump up, you run into the shower, you turn on the taps, nice hot water, quickly scrub yourself. You're thinking about your next steps. You run outside, you turn on the kettle, you put on your uniform, you get your to-go cup, you fill up your coffee, you jump in the car, you go to grab a sip of your coffee, the lid falls off, goes all over your uniform. Hot coffee as you got in the car, car's all sticky, it sucks. I said, how are you feeling at the moment? And you could see on his forehead a vein starting to fit, because credit to him, he was like, I don't know what's going on. I better just do what he's telling me. So he's envisioning all of this. I said, the first, you see the green light, car cuts you off, you hit the red light. You're going to be even later. He goes, oh, God. And at this point, he's viscerally, talking. And I said, mate, you've read The Happiest Man on Earth? He goes, yeah. And I go, now I want you to think about Eddie Jacku in that book in the moment that you've hit that red light. And he goes, yeah, I guess. It's all fucking stupid, isn't it? And I said, yeah. He goes, I'm not in a concentration camp. I'm not in Germany in World War II. He goes, and I said, how do you feel about the coffee, being late for work, the red light? Now he goes, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Kind of funny.
Big smile on his face. And I said, look at the impact of reading, and that's all it takes. I was bedbound for 2 years, couldn't walk for fucking 2 years, right? And I was so depressed, mate. 3 months in, couldn't walk, couldn't shit, couldn't shower. And I read one book and it changed my whole life. I went from being a physically fit young man with the whole world ahead of me, right, to being essentially disabled. And yeah, it was super depressing. I picked up a book and it completely changed my outlook. And so for the rest of those 18 months or however it was long, after I read that book, it was fine.
What was the book?
So the book was a book called Yes to Life by Viktor Frankl. And I read that book and I just went, I might be connected to a wall. I've got half my ass missing. I had my ass amputated. I'm sure we'll get into it. But, and I said, it's not that bad. And it just woke me up from all of my depression and anxiety and brought me back to the present moment, gratitude. And then also I can now carry that story with me for the rest of my life. Whenever I'm in a difficult situation, I can think back to that book, think back to that situation I found myself in and go, yeah, I might have coffee all over my uniform. My boss is going to yell at me. I'm at the red light, but fucking at least I'm not that guy. And whilst I'm really dumbing it down, this happens every day. And the beautiful thing about reading is that it stays with you for such a long period of time because it is such a period of focus when you're in that meditative state. And so, everybody's on the phone, like we talked about before, 6 hours a day, right? You watch countless reels. Name one of them. Oh, you fucking can't. But Harley, if I was to say to you, what was a book that you read growing up? You fucking remember it. And I'd say, what was the storyline? You'd be able to talk through the storyline of that book. Reading sticks in your long-term memory, and there is a chance that every single book that you read will stay with you for life, but two, change the course and your direction of life. So now what I do at Brothers and Books is just get all of those really great life-changing books out to as many people as humanly possible so that they can help themselves, not wait for someone else to help them or find them, but pick up a book and go, geez, that really helped me in my life. And, psychologists today, and I won't speak ill of them, they're so important for society. They're overworked and there's large wait times between them. But where do we think the science of psychology came from? Well, Sigmund Freud, Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, they've all written books. Well, guess what those books are? They're in my libraries that we send to everybody, right? So you can pick up and learn from the people that were literally, I think, Feud is called the father of psychology. All of his books are available for about $8 on Kindle, probably $1. And all that information is out there for people to help themselves as opposed to go to someone else for them to help them. And books achieve the same thing realistically as what psychologists do. If you were to see a psychologist and outside of like severe trauma from, an incredible situation, life is hard. People go through trauma. The end state of seeing a psychologist over however many sessions that it gets to is to build healthier habits, identify the habits that aren't helping you in your life, and then make small changes to your life and routine and environment to get you back on track to the healthy habits. Drinking water, sleeping well, eating right, exercising, socializing, getting outside, and then being curious about the world. So education and learning, they're the 7 main things that a psychologist wants to get you back to, right? Books do the same thing. When you're reading, you're connecting with the story, you're thinking about your own life, and you go, well, how does this impact my life? So you get that mindfulness. You start to become aware of your own habits and your own behaviors, and you can assimilate with the book and go, oh, I should probably change that. I should probably change that story I tell myself. So whilst we're not trying to replace psychologists, if there's going to be a 6-month gap before a workforce, and it could be defense is really good, by the way, some sort of workforce where you're experiencing stress and they might have an employment assistance program where they provide psychologists. If you have to wait 6 months, well, wouldn't it be great if there's books written by the best psychologists in the world that you can pick up from your workplace and read while you wait? Because I'd say a lot of the time you might not get to your appointment. If you pick up, let's say, Lost Connections by Jahan Hari, you realize that you're missing one of those 7 things in your life. And instead of hitting the piss, you go and socialize more. Or instead of getting a bad night's sleep because you're up all night gaming, you get a good night's sleep. And instead of, refusing to look at yourself in the mirror as I do often, I go, I'm going to stare this down and get to the gym. I got to get to the gym. I'm getting fat, instead of avoiding all these things. So that's what we do. And yeah, it's awesome. But it's funny. I mentioned the quantitative amount of books, the $500,000, but the actual weight of the books, I sent a couple of boxes like 3 days ago, and they were about 25 kilograms each. And I said, I wonder how many tons of books that I've sent over the years. Turns out it wasn't that impressive. It was close to like 8 ton of books, but that's still a lot of fucking books. So I'm just waiting for the charity to reach a point in time where you can't dismiss it anymore. And we've just had a conversation with New South Wales Ambulance. They want a community library in every single one of their paramedic units across the state. So, I said that was fantastic. And the lady who was doing it, she's the head of their wellness. She's a psychologist for them. While it's absolutely great and I can't wait to do it, I need to fundraise $1 million somehow. So that's what I'll be coming up with, a way to make $1 million so that we can provide the entirety of New South Wales ambulance service with community libraries. But we'll figure it out. We'll do it. And that's been keeping me up at night lately. And also, so that's the long story about why the charity, why reading, my background with trauma, psychologists, and the importance of bibliotherapy.
Where does your fundraising come from?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, like I said before, most charities, right, if you look into most charities, they'll have an executive that's the founder that has a background in some sort of other executive business, government relationships, or government. So most charities will start, and from day one, they will have been promised an ongoing amount of money from the federal government in the tune of millions of dollars to be able to provide the services, because something's come up in the news where these people aren't getting the right amount of money. So the federal government will just throw money at the wall until it sticks with some sort of not-for-profit that's able to potentially achieve whatever things that needs to be done. Yeah. But with Brothers and Books, because I started in the Army, we wanted to make sure that we were sustainable straight away. As a 23-year-old or whatever I was when I started it, didn't have access to the understanding about how government relationships work. So we just started selling T-shirts, and we sold a lot of T-shirts. We started giving out books. People started doing fundraisers for us. So there was another revenue stream. I started doing crazy things. I recently tried to break a Guinness World Record for reading out loud for the longest period of time without falling asleep. I got 4 days in before I started seeing demons and hallucinating. But just things like that. So what we're pushing for this year, and it's hard, mate, because the charity's goals, and I'm getting quite specific, and in the background, or like a white box view of the organisation, most charities, they will espouse that what they're trying to achieve, and it's like government. It's something so quantitative that you give money and you don't, you expect them to do something good, right? And one thing that I always talk about is mental health awareness charities. And there's some really good mental health awareness charities. But how is the money improving mental health awareness? It's the 21st century in Australia. People are aware of mental health causes. So unless they're delivering education-based speeches, programs, whatever it is, it makes it easier for people to give money and just assume that it's going to the right place.
Yeah.
What my organization struggles with is getting people to realize the importance of reading. Now, individuals know, right? But the problem is you can trace the money to the books, to the community libraries, etc. If I was to turn around and go, we just care about mental health, you would be very much better funded. So my advice to anybody building a not-for-profit out there, one, don't do it. Start a company first. Understand that you will struggle to sleep at night if people are giving you money and you're not able to truly be able to reach those philanthropic objectives that you were saying and espousing that you're going to do. So start a for-profit company. If you're passionate about something, there'll be a for-profit industry that you can join. And then if you're successful and if you learn the ropes of business and experience and through that, then go and start a charity and, get a huge tax deduction for your company and do both. But don't start the charity first, start the business first.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. We do it through a number of ways, but mainly it's just through working hard and doing the right things and being transparent. And what I've seen is that people come along at the right time in life. And what we spoke about early on, patience and consistency seem to be the key to anything in life.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and just crossing paths with that one person at that one time, could change the whole trajectory.
And realizing as well that you aren't going to change, even if you learn something in business that would lead to better business or more money or something like that. If it's against your morals, it's against your morals, and just accepting that and continuing on. And then I've always found that just being a good bloke, trying to help out as many people as possible, good things come your way. And it might take time, but in the long run, it's a much better place to be than someone who perhaps swallows their values to achieve something. There's that book by Fyodor Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment, right? And it's a great lesson. Don't read the book because it's 1,100 pages long and it's a Russian author, right? So it's hard, but I'll tell you the key lessons of this book and the key storyline and what's it called where you give something away? What are those warnings?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Don't read Crime and Punishment. Spoiler alert. No, so big old book. In the book, the main protagonist broke ass. So he pawned some of his items to, an old Russian lady, and she's a pawnbroker, takes his possessions, gives him some coin. He goes down to the pub, uses all the money, drinks piss, gets drunk, goes home. He just pawned his wife's wedding ring or something like that. He's got 2 kids, now no money and hungover. And so because he can't face his own actions' consequences, he decides that a better plan to make money isn't to sort out his life, but to go back to that old Russian lady's home while no one's around, murder her, take her money so that he can deal with it, right? And so the whole book is him coming to terms with the fact he killed this old lady, the police looking into him. And the message of the book is that no external factor in your life is going to hold you more accountable than you hold yourself. So the man in the book becomes sick. He can't believe himself. He can't enjoy his life because he's done something that's broken his ethical code. And whilst he doesn't get arrested, by the end of the book, he begs to be arrested by the authorities so that they can impose external punishment onto him so that he can forgive himself for his sins. And I just think that's such a good lesson in life to just realize, you can do the wrong thing, especially with the not-for-profit space, right? I don't know how some people fucking sleep at night, but you can do the wrong thing. But the person that's going to suffer the most, that's going to inflict the most suffering onto you is yourself. I know I fucking bring that book up all the time. It's such a good lesson.
I don't think they operate on the same wavelengths.
But
I'm sure they sleep like fucking babies, the scumbags.
And so this is the problem as well. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. So we talked about politics earlier. Most people are not qualified to be a politician. There's no training for it. You don't get training for it. You get training for it once you're in. But by then, you've obviously had the hubris and the ego to be like, I'd make a better politician than someone else. And like I said, The Economist calls them the anointed. The anointed, because they think they're fucking better than everybody else. Anyway, after 4 years in charity, I'd proven to myself that I didn't go like Fyodor Dostoevsky's protagonist and do anything ill or untowards with the amount of money that we had to manage. Like I said, $500,000 or straight to books. It's easy. It's easy for me. And so I thought that road that I had been on was more qualifying, and again, this is all internal to me and now out in the open. I thought that being ethical with that amount of money over that period of time set me up so that when I had to make tough decisions, if I was to be a parliamentarian, that I could make those decisions and hold myself accountable and know full well that I'd made the right decision. Whereas a lot of people, as you can imagine, and again, I'm speaking off the cuff here, I don't know anyone personally, once they get to that position and their choice is to enrich themselves, make their own lifestyle better, as opposed to do what they're supposed to do, it's a fucking easy decision if you've never made it before. Of course, you fucking look after yourself first. So that's why I thought, oh, well, I've tested myself. I know that I'm not going down the wrong road. I think that I could maintain this, and I'm happy with the character that I built, the habits that I've got, et cetera, et cetera. So whilst, again, it's so easy to throw stones at other people all the time. I see it, right? You see it all the time. Not even only in the veteran community, in society, throw stones at someone doing better than you and go, if you were in that position, you'd do it like this. Or, I call fucking bullshit because unless you're fucking opening the door for everyone every day, unless you're waking up every morning, holding yourself accountable, making your bed, drinking water, eating right, not smoking, drinking, any bad habits, and you're making the right ethical decision every single fucking day of your life, you get put into a huge decision like that and you haven't made all those right decisions leading up to it. Of course, you're not going to give away $1 billion. You'll go, no, actually, I think I want the plane and the house. Of course you would. It's crazy. So, yeah, it's real easy to throw stones when you're not in those positions. And again, I'm not saying don't hold people's feet to the fire. Of course not. But, and it comes back to, unfortunately, people fucking hate this guy. I haven't read his book for years, so don't hold it against me. But Jordan Peterson, make your own bed first. Focus on your own life first. You've got the decision and choice every day to make a decision like that will impact someone else's life. It may not be $1 billion, but it's all the same when you bring it right down to the microeconomics of it. You know, give a fucking homeless person $20. Do you fucking give a homeless person $20 when you walk by? No. Then why are you yelling at this person to give someone else $1 million? It's all exactly the same. And I think I'm pretty fucking charitable, but I still wouldn't put my hand in my heart and go, if I was worth X, then I would give away Y amount of that money. But it's real easy for people to go, of course they should.
Yeah. I don't think it's, I think the fucking, all the hate comes from, it's not that they're profiting so much, it's they're profiting off what they're telling people that is for something else. You give me this money, it's going to help veterans. When actually you giving me this money is going to pay my salary, which is exorbitant, and the salaries of all the other people I've decided to hire under me that may or may not be necessary for this organization. And so you think you're giving money to a veteran because that's the feel of the vibe of the entire business, but you're actually giving money to their fucking mansions and Mercedes.
Exactly right. And now it'd be easy for me to sit here and say the same thing, right? But because not-for-profits are so unsustainable, right? If you're constantly giving, and again, I'm not running my organization like this because I've got a serious moral dilemma with the expansion. It's fucking hard, right, to start getting people on the books because any single dollar that goes towards an employee is less a dollar that goes towards the actual service. But to continue doing the service, mate, I reckon I've racked up about at least 2,000 hours of volunteer hours unpaid, right? That's unsustainable. That's completely unsustainable. If I was to pay someone to replace me on 110 grand, two things would happen. One, he would be held to more of an account because he's got money to do the job. So whereas I might go, and I never did this, but if I could, I might go, well, I'm going to fucking sleep in today. I'm not going to fucking send those tons of, I wish it was tons. I'm going to sleep in today. I'm not going to send those tons because why does anybody fucking care? I'm not held to account. Money is a strange and wonderful thing. You start paying someone else to do that amount of work, they fucking do the work. So it's that balance, right? But it's like any corporation, and I don't know how you change. I think charity's a bit like government, where it's purposefully confusing and complex so that no one looks in. And I say the government, I more mean the financial institutions, right? Do you know what quantitative easing means? And you'd be right not to know. No. It means printing money. But they call it quantitative easing because if they were to call it printing money, you'd say, well, fuck you, all my money's worth less. So they come up with a word called quantitative easing so that you don't look into fucking how the government spends money because they might be held to account. Charities are a bit similar. If they were completely transparent, no one would give them any fucking money.
No. Once the curtain's been pulled back, you're fucking a lot more hesitant.
Yeah, that's right. And so a lot of people leave working in a not-for-profit space, either volunteers or paid employees, and they go, "What the fuck? I'm never doing that again."
Yeah, 100%. I've been there. Actually, fucking give a shout out to someone that's fucking in the same sort of boat as you. I don't know if you know him, Ian from Warfighter Coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly the same. I had a big chat with him the other day. He lives off his pension, and fucking every dollar that doesn't take any money from the charity whatsoever. Every dollar that comes in, he's only hired one person that's for accounting.
Yep.
And everything else goes straight back to veterans.
Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah,
good man. And you know, it's funny, like the veteran space, I know CommBank's gotten involved. I'm sure there's other big banks that have gotten involved in the veteran entrepreneurial business sense, but I'm tracking the pensions that a lot of defence members receive are more likely to set up more businesses than anybody on a standard salary because it's so hard to get ahead in this current economic time.
Yeah,
so we definitely need more pathways and programs and books for young veterans getting out because they may be the people that blow the fuck up.
Next big thing.
Yeah. They might come up with a product and change a lot.
Yeah. Fucking we digressed pretty massively. How long were you a Lou before you got made up to captain?
So 3 years. So 3 years as a platoon commander. The biggest lesson I ever learned from being a platoon commander before I hit captain was this. In my first year, and I'm sure it's the same for a lot of lieutenants, but it's an important lesson. First year, when a soldier came to me with an issue, I'd try my absolute best to fix it. Every time I'd spend fucking as long as he needed trying to fix it, right? Stay after hours, learn about the issue, identify the solutions for the issues, implement the issues.
Taking on these problems.
Right? by the time that you're ready to promote to captain, you've had the same problem so many times, and you tell them to deal with it themselves. And you feel the first time you do it, I'm sure it's like being a father. The first time you do it, you go, "Oh fuck, here I am at the gym or knocking off. I could give Jack a hand and it wouldn't take him 4 hours. It'd take him 10 minutes. It'd take me 10 minutes to do that stupid thing that he's doing for the first time." But if you ever want people to learn, that's the leadership attitude that you need, and it's the followership attitude that you should have as a subordinate as well. Because I know as an officer, if I was to say to a cat, "Oh, come on, just give me a hand," they'd just fucking laugh at me. So whilst you think that you're being liberal and passionate and helpful, you're actually fucking taking the ability away from someone underneath you to learn. But I think that's probably the most important lesson I think that you should learn throughout your years of being an officer. And potentially by the time you're a third year, you needed to help those people to understand what your fucking job is.
Yeah.
But and then I got made up to captain, and it's all pretty boring after that, mate. A captain's life is a captain's life. A lot of paperwork, a lot of getting yelled at by majors.
When did you come down to Brisbane?
So I came down to Brisbane the back end of maybe 2020, and it was coming off the back of 8 surgeries. So I'd spent all my time up in Townsville getting operated on, and by the time I could walk again, I came to 6 area and I give it my best crack. But then 6 months after going upfield and going on exercises again, unfortunately I had to have the 9th surgery on my back. And, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me fucking 8 times. Shame on you. So I said to the medical department that you've got to fucking sort this out. This is a joke. And that's when I started taking ownership. And I realized that doctors, surgeons, nurses, all these people that are promoted, into the dizzying heights of cognitive dissonance where you shouldn't second guess anything that they fucking say, are just people as well. And people make mistakes. So they realistically, not only did reading help me mentally and in my life and growth, but the realization that you should be curious in every single endeavor, whether it's getting operated on, whether you're having surgery, whether it's going to the dentist. You should get interested in understanding just a small amount of the other side of what's happening so that you don't, put your life's responsibility in someone else's hands.
Just blindly follow.
Yeah. So because by the end of it, for my 9th surgery, I got told from a surgeon that I would be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. And I said, well, fuck that, mate. Like, that sounds sort of shit. Can I get another? Nah, that's what it'll be. Like, if we do this operation, which we need to do, you're going to be in a wheelchair. I said, oh, man, that sucks. But then I met another surgeon. I told him that. He said, oh, no, wait, mate. And keep in mind, I read hundreds of books. I was on every fucking support page on Facebook about this disease that I had that I could find, just trying to find this information, trying to find other people like me. But I really struggled, and this surgeon explained it to me. I fucking asked him about 100 questions, and I said, all right, I think this is the guy. And then I actually offered him money, I think, like below the table. I said, you sort this out, mate. Like, I'll sort you out. And he just was like, no, man, it's all good. Like,
It's
I'm
literally
just doing my job. And I'm like, go tell that to the 8 other blokes that just fucking butchered me, mate. And again, nothing against them. They make mistakes. But
So back stepping, what happened?
I woke up one day and I had an ingrown hair on my lower spine called pilonidal sinus disease is what it's called. And it's just an unfortunate...
Just a little lump?
Just a little lump, lots of pressure on your lower spine. Lots of blokes get it, severely underreported, because people who live with this their whole life not know what it's fucking called, but go, geez, my back. But it's just an ingrown hair. Right before the top of your ass crack, below your coccyx, there is a gap in your lower back where there's just flesh, right? Before it hits your skeletal system, it's just flesh. And what can happen is it's a hairy area for blokes. Hair can get caught up or turned around in there, and it becomes an ingrown hair. That's fine on most parts of your body, right? Your legs get a lot of ingrown hairs.
Okay.
But in that particular area, once it goes in, the flesh doesn't come back. So it creates a gap underneath your skin. The only way to get rid of that hair is through surgical removal. Even once the hair is gone, that gap exists. It fills up with fluids. It becomes infected. And you've got to keep having surgeries to open up that area from the fluids to stop the infection. So you get it once, they do a little incision. They dig out a little scoop of flesh and they just leave you with a hole in your back. Okay. If it happens again, the hole gets slightly bigger. By my 8th surgery, I had a small NFL-sized ball of flesh missing from my lower back, and I'll get up a photo. And the hole just got progressively bigger. And the worst one was, whilst it was...
Send it to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The worst one was... Oh, there it is there, mate. The worst part was it went from being a small hole. I wanted your reaction live. Went from being a small hole to my 8th surgery, which is where you get that photo there. And I woke up from the surgery. The surgeon never told me anything like that. But of course, he would have gotten in there and got, shit, no, we need to take way more out. I wake up, mate, obviously in pain, by myself in Townsville. Real sad story. It's my sad story. I wake up by myself. I'm connected to a bag that's sucking blood out of my body that needs to be connected to a power point to charge the battery to suck the fluids out of that gaping hole. And I'm yet to see it right. No, my back looked normal, and then it looked like that. It was like being an amputee, mate. I walked in to a bathroom. I turned around in my hospital gown holding my vacuum, and I opened up my back. I saw that hole in my back for the first time in my life.
Fucking covered with gauze or anything.
Nothing. And I just slammed that nurse, get the nurse button.
Yeah.
And the nurse comes in and I said, excuse me. She goes, yeah. Okay. What the fuck is that on my back? And she goes, holy shit. I've never seen anything like that before. What the fuck is that? I said, get a fucking doctor now.
Oh, God.
Anyway, the doctor comes in. I said, mate, and at this point, I haven't moved. I'm still staring at my own anatomy, missing this massive chunk of flesh out of my body, knowing that we aren't lizards. That fucking chunk of flesh isn't coming back. I've got a permanent, that was a 12 centimeter deep hole in my back that was about, you saw it, about 15 centimeters long, 11 centimeters deep. And I just said, I said, mate, how am I supposed to go to the shower? How can I shit? Yeah. How can I drive? How can I sit down? How can I lie down? I'm missing all of my back. And he's like, yeah, I've never seen that. And I went, what the fuck is going on? And sure enough, I redeployed back to field multiple times with that in my back. I just had this hole in my back and it'd break down all the time. It'd bleed all the time. And then eventually a surgeon saw it. The guy that said I didn't need to get in a wheelchair, I said, I will get the surgery with you. And he just chopped off the entire top half of my ass. So now I'm missing the top half of my ass, but I don't have a massive hole in my back that I could consistently feel every part of every day, every second of my life.
Feel the wind blowing through.
Mate, absolutely crazy.
What the fuck?
Absolutely crazy.
From the first to the seventh one that did that, how long was the sort of time in between? Would you go home and then it get worse and you go back again?
Yeah, so really good question. So they kept telling me because normally it's a pretty routine surgery, but once it's unsuccessful, the statistics for future surgeries are just minimal, right? So if you have to have 2 surgeries, you're pretty fucked because you're probably going to have a third and so on. So they kept telling me, yeah, mate, 2 weeks and you'll be good to go. Like just lie on your stomach. So I'd lie on my stomach for 2 weeks. And then it'd just break down again. I'd have emergency surgery. They'd be like, all right, mate, 3 weeks and you'd be good to go. So I wouldn't move for 3 weeks and then I'd have an emergency surgery. And then, and so it starts building up with the time. And by the 5th time, where I'm just having all these surgeries, going to say, you'll be right in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I just went, wow, let's give it a bit more time than that this time. So really disappointingly, like I'd lied on my stomach, not being able to fucking walk or go outside or just reading hundreds of books for 5 months. And I remember my brother come to visit me in Townsville and he brought the kids because I haven't fucking left the house in a year at this point, right? And he goes, do you think, and I have to walk to the fridge and stuff, minimal movement. It was horrible. And he goes, do you think, the kids got this park, this nice park down the road. It's not too long of a drive. You'd be right. Grab the Jesus handle, hold yourself up so you're not sitting on this massive wound. And I'd be like, that sounds good. Be good for me to go outside. Took about maybe 100 meters of small steps, holding my carry bag and just blood just all over the fucking back of my pants after 5 months of just lying in bed. And I went, fuck. So my brother's like, man, I'm so sorry. And I just went, nah, it's all good, man. What do you fucking do? But yeah, that was rough.
How did you get to fucking 2 years?
After that, man, I refused to move. I just stayed in bed. I took my recovery more seriously than anybody else. We got to that point where they said, yep, that's fine. You've got that big hole in your back, but it's not stuffing around anymore. There's no more fluid. There's no more build-up underneath it because we've literally cut down to the bone. So nothing can grow underneath that. You're good, mate. And then I
how the fucking does the inside just scar over or something
So they cut off skin from my leg, dropped it into the wound, and then just stapled that skin so that it starts to try and grow skin in the wound. It turns out, mate, if you've ever looked into it before, I don't know, but wound management is not a science that human beings know a lot about.
Yeah, okay.
Just for your awareness, I didn't know that either until I said, can't anybody fix this? And they said, oh, there's two trains of thought. Keep it wet, keep it dry. I said, they're polar opposites. Give me the expert. I'm the expert. I said, oh, shit. But yeah, so once it stabilized and I wasn't bleeding from the back of my back all the time, I started getting out again. And unfortunately, what surprise, it broke down, but I couldn't live my life anymore. I just inside constantly. So I give my best crack. I lasted about 6 months. I was going out fields in the army. And then it took a doctor looking at it and going, what the fuck is that in your back? And I said,
still carrying back
last doctor said, that's all good. He said, no, that's not on. Like, what the fuck is going on? So, bit of a medical mystery for me, what actually happened. But thank God for the army, right? Because They weren't, people will listen to this potentially and go, oh, military doctors, military surgeons, can't trust them, all that shit. That's not on. Like private hospitals, public hospitals, mistakes happen. And some things are more difficult to solve than others. And I had the final surgery, and actually the recovery time was about 4 weeks. It was also a good test of objectives after a small period of not having surgeries to really put my money where my mouth was, because I had started the charity to say, look, reading changed my life. So I'd read hundreds of books. So when I found out that they were going to chop off the top of my ass, which is far better than that big hole, but I had no idea. Again, I had to go under the knife and not know what I was waking up to. Well, I was fine because I'd read all these great stories and I said, well, what's the worst that can fucking happen? I end up in a fucking wheelchair and I just went, who cares at this point?
Yeah, right.
Who cares? So thank God for books. Thank God for the medical industry to a degree. But yeah, mainly reading is what got me through it, because I was at my limit, mate. And a couple of months actually after the final surgery, ABC reached out to me and they said, hey, we've been hitting up different podcasters around Brisbane about, bizarre medical diagnoses and journeys. And I said, yes. And they said, and your name keeps coming up. And I said, I can imagine it would. Anyway, they said, can we have an initial interview with you? I said, sure. 6 weeks after my surgery, I had the interview. You know how I had the interview? This is a funny story, actually. I haven't remembered this in years. I actually had to have the interview lying on my side. And the guy immediately goes, why are you lying on your side while you're having a, meeting with the ABC? I said, well, I actually can't fucking sit down, mate. Can we just move on and ask me the fucking questions? Because I was still so scared, mate, of sitting on my back. I remember a doctor said, why are you getting so angry at me when you're saying we need to look at this? Let's not have a 6th, 7th surgery. Like, can we get a team of doctors? Is there anybody we can consult? And similar to my soldier, I said to the doctor, he goes, trust me, mate, you're my main priority. I said, what time did you leave work yesterday, mate? He goes, 4 o'clock. I said, so if I'm your main priority and you've come in here and it's 8 o'clock this morning and you're giving me the same answers as you did at 3:30 yesterday, how am I a priority at all? You haven't done any extra research. You didn't stay behind after work. You're seeing me this morning. There's no new solutions. And I said, I'm sorry, mate, but I don't think you understand prioritization. Anyway, and he goes, I don't know what you said about. And I said, he goes, I'm confident. And this is about my 6th surgery. He goes, I'm confident that you won't have any more surgeries. I said, that's great, mate. I said, the problem is this. I said, say you got a friend, right? He goes out in the world. He gets mugged, right? He gets fucking mugged, held at gunpoint, mugged. They take his wallet and his phone. He comes back home. He's distraught. He's just had his phone and wallet taken and he's feared for his life. And then he stays inside because he's worried that if he goes outside again, he gets mugged. But then you go around and visit. You say, mate, come on. Got to get you back on your feet. He goes out again, gets mugged again. What do you think he thinks his chances are of getting mugged for a 3rd time? Close to 100%. Anyway, sure enough, works up the courage, goes out again, gets mugged again. This happens 4, 5, and 6 times. Then your mate comes over and he says, come on, mate, we're just down to the shops. Just down to the shops. And I said to the doctor, have some fucking compassion, mate. I said, I'm going to go out. I'm going to get mugged again. You would be crazy to think that I'm not going to get mugged for a 7th time. It's
100% fucking hit, mate.
And I said, so please help me, mate. That's why I'm distraught. I'm sick of you fucking lying to me. Get the fuck out of my house. No, so, and it was rough, mate. It was a fucking rough patch in my life, yeah.
Fucking. So this is a 6-hour. And then, so what was you recovered, you got the arse surgery.
Yep.
So cutting off the top of your ass, is that just like?
Yeah, so I've just got an elongated.
Like an even bigger hole out.
Elongated back. I just have a long back and then I've got 2 little cheeks right down the bottom. I hope you use that clip. 2 little cheeks right down the bottom. Anyway, so that's what I got now. And, it's funny, like I said to my brother during this and, God damn it, like I wish, and this sounds fucked, mate, but I was in a horrible position. I said, geez, just take me out, like put me in a fucking wheelchair. So at least then I know that this is the rest of my life. And there's a really great All Blacks coach and he talks about, he goes, guys can put up with anything. anything, injury, fucking breakup, finance positions, all these different things. He goes, but what they can't deal with is uncertainty. And when you have a fucking 1 in 100,000 disease, you find out you're the 1 in a million patient that has to have 9 surgeries. You feel pretty uncertain about the future, and that's a hard pill to follow when there's no information to go out there and find it. So I said, well, I want to do something about this. I'd hate for anybody else to go through what I went through. And this is the summation of the ABC the ABC documentary they did on my ass. I always knew millions of people would see my ass. I just didn't realize it would be a medical fucking documentary. I thought maybe I'd make it in the porn industry. But so anyway, they make this documentary and they're telling me on the day, we'll make it. We'll see what happens. And I said, I'm telling you guys, during this experience, I've met maybe 20 to 50 guys with the same thing, albeit not as bad as mine. They still would have been fucked. Fuck that. But I said, I think this is more common than what the data says. The data says about 1 in 100,000. I said, what are the chances I meet 50 of them in Townsville? Well, that doesn't make sense, right? There's not 5 million people in Townsville. The statistics are wrong. And they're like, we'll see about that. Millions of people watch that video. And I receive probably now, this is 2 years, 3 years on, maybe one message a week from a bloke going, females and males, get this, mate, I've got PTSD. Not veterans, fucking people that have put up with this disease. They go, I don't want to walk. I don't want to sit down. I don't want to shower because I'm scared of getting the area moist. I've had 2 or 3 surgeries. I'm so fucking worried this is going to happen again. I'm so scared. And then my ex-girlfriend hated me bringing this up, but pilonidal sinus disease and the surgery is one of the most painful things that can happen to the human body. So pregnancy, I've met multiple women that have given birth and had pilonidal sinus disease. Every single one of them has said pilonidal sinus disease is so much more painful, and hopefully you get that footage up. But to put it into perspective as to what I had to go through every day, they would drive me to the hospital probably 15 minutes away, right? So every morning when they were dressing the wound, when it was at its worst, my morning looked like this. I would wake up, I'd have about 2 to 4 endone. This was every 2 to 3 days I had to have the wound dressed, right? So every 2 to 3 days, this was my morning routine. I'd wake up, I'd be plugged into the wall. My ribs would hurt because I could only sleep on my stomach for years. And I'm putting on weight because I can't walk. So I'd wake up, I'd unplug myself from the wall. I would then take pain medication in advance for 30 minutes. I'd then have a bird bath in a sink because I couldn't stand in the shower in case the bandages got wet and I was an emergency and I had to go into an ambulance if I got them wet. So I'd have a bird bath. The endone would start hitting by the time the hospital's taxi would get there. I would then get into the back of the taxi and hold myself up with the Jesus handle as the drugs were starting to kick in so I could get there and get to the hospital. I would then walk into the hospital. The nurse would lie me down. She would then I swear to God, mate, this was every 2 to 3 days I experienced this for fucking 6 months to a year when it was at its worst. She would then hand me not 1, but 2 green whistles. You know, the green whistles when someone snaps their arm so that they don't feel the pain. I would then do, this is a true story, I would do 1 green whistle and she would go, are you ready? And I go, yep. And then I'd hit the second green whistle. The bandage that they would put into that wound in my lower back was almost styrofoam. It had the appearance of styrofoam, so little holes all through it. And the point of that specific bandage was to get the flesh to grow. It was to encourage the flesh to grow into the bandage, into the styrofoam where the gaps were. So when you pull that styrofoam out, all of your flesh has grown into it. So they're removing a 10 centimeter cube of styrofoam with all of my flesh connected to it, and they'd pull it out. And that's what I would experience every 2 to 3 days. And
why the fuck they want you?
Unfortunately, that was the healing process, and on a number of occasions, it actually led to me almost dying because they'd cut arteries while they were pulling that out, and that's not medical malpractice. That is the healing process for that specific size of flesh wound. Awful, mate.
How many endone were you going through a day?
Oh, heaps, mate, heaps.
How the fuck did you go getting off that?
Fine. Yeah, I was fine with pain medication, but
how were you reading? How are you reading on endo?
Mate, great question. I normally bring this up. That's a brilliant question. I normally bring this up. So I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe some of your listeners have seen it, but the Queen's Gambit. I liken myself to that because people say, endo, what the hell? Like, how'd you focus at all? Yeah. For whatever reason, it had an impact on me, and drugs have different impacts on different people. But in the Queen's Gambit, there's a compilation scene as she's growing up. She's in an orphanage. They're dosing the kids to keep them fucking docile, right? Make them easy to look after. But the impact that drug has on her is it allows her to visualize on the ceiling different chess moves. So she takes the drugs and it's a real story, and she actually gets better at chess because it allows her to deeply focus on different moves and strategize, etc. So for me, it allowed me to just sit and focus and fucking read.
Really?
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. But on the days I wasn't doing the stupid bandage change, I was fine. I didn't need them. Yeah, I didn't need the pain meds.
Oh, okay. So it was only on those days.
Exactly. Yeah.
He was bandaging on the others.
Oh man, it was cooked. Yeah. But all well that ends well.
So you got better. I met you were fucking basically doing PT at the Soldier Recovery, were you?
Yeah. So I had a mate call me and he goes, mate, what are you doing? And I said, I just had my 9th surgery. I think I'm on the up. And he said, what did Army say? And they said, and I said, well, I guess I fucking go back to work, mate. Like, I don't know, do what I've always done. Do rehabilitation at work, fucking get yelled at from the OPSO and stay at work, get my job done. He goes, man, I had a doctor say, you can do that. You can go back to work and try and rehab for 6 months. Whilst there's no way you can rehab because you're so tired from doing normal work whilst being injured and overweight. Or you could go to the Soldier Recovery Center. I said, what the hell is the Soldier Recovery Center? He said, it's where they send a lot of the soldiers so they can actually get better instead of focusing at work. I said, how'd you pull that off, mate? He goes, well, they just offered it to me. So I then went back into work and I said, I've got a case study for another infantry captain that's done it before. That's what the Soldier Recovery Center's purpose is. I'm going to the Soldier, and they said, no, you're not. I said, yes, I am. I'm going. And again, nothing against my bosses at the time. Of course, I had to push back. They're about to lose an ops captain. You've got to push back. And I said, I'm sorry, guys. Like, you tell me when you've had fucking 9 surgeries on your back and you've put the Army first every time, and then you say that you're going to put the Army first over yourself, then you can tell me that I'm not fucking putting myself first for the first time in 9 surgeries. Yeah. But until that time, fuck off. And so I got to the Soldier Recovery Center and I tried to make the most of it. Yeah.
So you're in HQ at the time?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in the ops room.
So what was the transition like?
Well, mate, Soldier Recovery Center was excellent. You were obviously there. That's how you and I know each other. I cannot speak highly enough of Paul, yourself, the team there. It was fantastic. It's exactly what the Australian Army needs for soldiers transitioning out of Army. And if they want to transition back into the Defence Force, then, geez, what a great time for them to start thinking about what life looks like outside of the Army. It's weird that we don't bring up the fact that, you know, the statistics, I won't make up a percentage right now, but the majority of people only serve, you know, X number of years, under 5 years, right? So if they serve only that short period of time, how are we setting them up for the future, and why are we surprised when they're not prepared for the future? Really bizarre. So, look, I hope the Soldier Recovery Center keeps going. It was fundamental to provide a safe space for me personally so that I could go somewhere else instead of just working all day and not having an excuse whilst my ass is bleeding out. Yeah, so it probably saved my life, mate. Soldier Recovery Center. I think that I would probably be in a wheelchair today had it not been for the Soldier Recovery Center. Not so much in the tactical level, recovery, you know, and all the great things that we did there. Yeah. But for that place existing, it allowed me an avenue of approach to correctly rehabilitate prepare for the outside world, and more importantly, not end up in a wheelchair. But in terms of the transition, mate, I got incredibly lucky through books, which is why now I'm so biased, and I just say, look, I think it's so important that if we can get young people reading at work, and I've seen what some of my infantry soldiers did, there's a bit of time. If we can get those people reading books, then they're going to be set up for the rest of their life. So they can figure out what university courses they want to do if they want to go to university. They can start a business. They can start looking after their finances. They can start looking after their mental health. They can start pursuing their passions and their interests and their hobbies, and they can read great stories that provide perspective, so that when they do get to a point where they feel sorry for themselves after service, which they will, because you're not with all your fucking friends all the time, like I was, like we all were, and you go, geez, I'm a bit fucking lonely, and you start to feel sorry for yourself. You go, I'm not fucking lonely if I call my mates. I'm not lonely if I go outside and try and start and see what communities are around me. And it doesn't matter if they joined the army when they were 16 because they're on steroids and dodging school like I was. That's not what made them great to me as a friend. What made them great to me as a friend is that I happened to be around them a long period of time, and I tried and they tried. No different to any other fucking community in your area. There's no difference. Sure, it might have been easy to get along with army people to, bring down the barriers, so that you don't need to text or call them. You just assume they're friends like you and I do, right? Like we've known each other for years. Not really, but it feels like it, right? Because we both had a similar experience.
Yeah.
So it's easy for you and I to make friends with someone that's had a similar experience. But to go down to the rugby club and let's say you meet a Tongan fella who's never served in the Defence Force, grew up in a different country, English as a second language, different education standards, but you guys both like, let's say, gaming, reading, football, obviously, if you join the rugby club, going to the pub, betting on the dogs, or whatever. Don't fucking gamble. But, it's a bit harder to get to that same level. But voila, you can be good mates with anybody. It doesn't have to be defense. So, I was just fortunate to realize that all of that before I left. And I think that reading is a great place to start whilst you're in defense, so that you've got a plan when you leave. And I was fortunate to set up the charity whilst I was still in the army. I think I'm the only officer or soldier that was afforded the opportunity to set up a not-for-profit fucking charity whilst they were still serving full-time in the army. But I hope there's more and more of those people that go, why can't I do this on the weekend? I'm passionate about it. Why can't I help people on the weekend? Why can't I volunteer? And if someone wants to read a book called How to Run a Charity like I did and set up a charity, then they should.
Book for everything.
There's a fucking book for it. But yeah, my transition, mate, was really good. And anybody getting out, I'd say start reading books while you're still in. And you'll never be lonely a day in your life.
That's fucking beautiful.
Well, I'm glad you're sitting all the way over there.
What's the process of fucking people getting the community libraries? They just contact you through the...
Yeah. If they jump on the website and request one, any organisation, and they go on the website.
Does it have to be emergency services and stuff?
Doesn't have to be anything like that at all. They take the priority because those poor bastards a lot of the time got major stress and they've got recruitment issues, so they're doing multiple jobs. So we'll get it to them as soon as possible. But if you're running a for-profit business and you want a community library so that you can inculcate a culture of curiosity, education, good mental well-being, consistent learning, great financial advice, etc., I'll send you a fucking library. And even if you make $10 million a year, we'll pay for it, because I think it is that important that people have access to these books. And obviously the feedback that I get from local level government is, we've got the library. Yeah, you've got the fucking library. How many people are going? And how many of them aren't university students that don't want to buy the textbook? Because I would say that's the majority of the people. Other people that have a library card, smarter people than me, and good on them. But why not take the water to the horse as opposed to letting the horse try and find the water? How many people do you know have a fucking library card, by the way, just quickly?
Not since 1995.
Right. So maybe there's a better way to bring the books to the people as opposed to setting up the library hubs. Especially,
Well, I'm not going to drive to a fucking library, but if I've, like even the one at 6RAR, like I'll just be fucking sort of standing around waiting for someone, and I'll just like, oh, let's see what's in, see what titles are available, and fucking, grab a book.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's great. It's scalable. And if anybody wants a community library, they can jump online and grab one. We have, because of the amount of requests, I got to get my butt moving, making some money. But hopefully I can hire someone to do that for me because I fucking can't stand it. I hate it.
Can't stand the hustle.
Oh, well, I just don't want to be around fucking money because I know what it does. Know what it does to people. and I'm a person. As much as I'd love to get on my high horse and tell other people they're shit and I'm great, it's not the case. Human beings are human beings, and over time, human beings continue to be human beings.
And you got a pretty extensive merch collection now?
No. The merch often takes a back seat because they're trying to raise thousands of dollars to make these libraries. So I'll get all this, not abuse, but I'll get emails and texts and, hey, when's this coming back? I'm like, sorry, mate, like merch is taking a back seat. But no one gets rich off of fucking selling shirts.
It's $4 per shirt.
Maybe own the factory that makes the shirts. But until that time, unfortunately, if I sell 100 of these, we make enough money for half a library, and I'm sending out close to 2 to 3 libraries per week, per fortnight at the moment. So,
really?
So if we lean into merch, then that takes a back step. But perhaps there's a happy middle ground out there somewhere where I read a book, maybe from Alex Hormozy, and he teaches me how to set up good meta ad spend, and I can let that operation run by itself whilst drop shipping fucking shirts into Australia. Because if you want to do that and you want to make a lot of money, just read a book about it, and voila, you'll probably be able to get it done if you put the effort in and have the patience.
Would you consider yourself a fucking speed reader? Do you get through books pretty quick?
Depends on the book. It depends on the book. Sometimes I read pretty quick. A lot of the time, reading nonfiction, when you read a lot of nonfiction on specific topics, you know what they're going to say, right? And people go, oh, he's not fucking really reading the books. It's like, well, if you read a book on the same topic multiple times, a number of the chapters will cross-correlate. They'll use the same case studies and drag it out over 10 pages. So if you've read the case study that led to the science, that led to the point, then you already understand the case study. So you can flick through them pretty quick, but like all habits, your attention stops to drift, so you can focus better if you read more books, and that'll lead to reading faster. And then if you want to practice speed reading, there's books out there about it.
That's a fucking massive problem, mate, especially with the current, for society, the fucking doom scrolling, because we're so used to that, just quick fix and always changing attention. Oh, that's my excuse anyway, but I'll sit down to read, and then I'll read a paragraph and go, fuck, I saw none of that. And I'll start again. I'll read that paragraph again. And it might happen 3 or 4 times. I'm like, this is getting fucking ridiculous. And
yeah, mate.
Start smacking myself and fucking drink some water and all right, here we go again.
Mate, it's crazy. Like I'm sure Huberman talks. Oh, sorry, no, there's a great book, and Huberman might have wrote the foreword, or they might have referenced him in it. It's called Dopamine Nation, and it just talks about all the different things in our life. And if you have a dopamine detox, could you imagine what would happen if Australia for a day had a dopamine detox? No nicotine, no alcohol, no screens, right? Just for a day. What the fuck would happen? People would lose their minds. People would lose their minds. Look, I'm optimistic. I want to be an optimistic about any situation. But in that situation, I don't think it'd end well. I think people would go fucking crazy. Yeah, imagine all the poor, like the kids without their screens.
Oh, yeah.
The parents.
Off, yeah, there's a lot, fucking, especially teenagers and the young Gen Zers with their just completely addicted.
Yeah, and look, I know I talked about it a lot, but you want to stand out in your workplace. You want to stand out in your friend group. You want to stand out financially. You want to stand out in terms of your intellect, in your ability to communicate, your ability to write in a world that AI is going to completely take over and has already. You read books. And with less and less people having the ability to keep their attention span on one topic, it becomes a superpower. So in the future, once this continues to get better, once virtual reality continues to get better, once voice prompt AI continues to get better, you are going to almost, I think, and, history rhymes and goes back and forth in circles. But I think that there's going to be a resurgence of reading physical books in the future because people will have had enough. I also think that AI, the new video AI, say goodbye to actors, movie directors, producers. You'll be able to watch any movie that you want to watch. You'll be able to go create for me a Quentin Tarantino styled film that, as he would do it with these actors, that takes place in this time in history, and you'll be able to watch a full movie just off the bat. So that industry's gone. Full self-driving cars already exist. It's $15 a month to get your Tesla to be full self-driving. So the entire transport industry is about to not exist here in Australia. Professions such as doctors, psychologists, lawyers, any sort of administrative role and specialty is about to, while still exist, about to become severely underutilized. If I don't need to go to a GP and spend $600 and I can just go on ChatGPT, that's going to exist. And I'm sure you know people where they've got case studies where they've actually done it. My brother's, my nephew recently required grommets in his ears. My brother flew him to Brisbane, saw a specialist, saw 3 doctors, no one knew. Eventually on the flight home from seeing the specialist where he wasn't able to get a response after spending thousands of dollars on all this treatment, ChatGPT said that it might be grommets, where you need a little hole pinprick in your eardrum, and that's why his speech wasn't developing because he was deaf.
Oh, wow.
And so he took that to the GP and said, could it be this? And they said, oh, that's actually what it almost definitely is. So those things are going to dwindle. And you're going to find yourself in a sea of mediocrity because computers are thinking for us. And when that time comes, people are going to look for things to be able to do. And I think that's where reading comes into it and the human factor.
You know what? There's a dumb movie. Well, not dumb. It was pretty fucking well done. Ready Player One. Have you seen that?
I have years ago.
That's a fucking. I've always looked at that movie like a documentary more than a sci-fi fucking movie. It looks so like living in shipping containers. Life inside of the virtual reality is better than life outside.
Well, obviously, it's already the case, isn't it?
Yeah. It's already the case. Yeah, 100%. So when things get better and you can be anyone you want to be, anywhere you want to be, why the fuck would you want to live in the shitty existence of life when you can have anything and everything? Yeah, fucking so true.
Mate, it's wild. It's wild. It's fucking wild. It's a wild time to be alive. I'm very bearish on the future.
Oh, no. Even fucking having kids, I'm like, kind of glad that they're here already and maybe it won't be too bad, but fucking hell, imagine 50, 60 fucking years from now.
Well, it's crazy. Because a lot of the big dogs are talking about universal basic income because once this gets to not singularity, and let's say general purpose artificial intelligence never comes into existence, so where the AI can't recreate better AI, right? So let's say that never comes into existence, but the AI gets to a point where it's pretty fucking good and it starts solving scientific medical issues. So we find a cure for cancer, people are living longer. It finds all these different, more effective ways of doing energy and building infrastructure to create the energy. We solve nuclear reactors, but we do it in a cost-effective way because the AI is just it's better than a million engineers all working on the same instantaneously. And so we've got all the power in the world. There's no drivers. All of our medical things are sorted out. But then we realized we've ravaged countries. There's third world countries that live like that so that we can live like this right now as well as we want to get out on our high horses and yell at billionaires while we live like fucking kings in the 21st century. Didn't have beds and fucking, when you were King Henry VIII, but you're still living better than him now. It's easy to throw stones. But what are we going to fucking do? What are we going to do?
When AI is doing everything for you.
Yeah. And I think people are going to miss human connection. I think there will be a skill set of being a human. Friendship. Simon Sinek's written a new book about friendship because he thinks in the future, people will need to learn how to have human interaction. And that's what they'll be craving because everything is just going to be automated and you won't need to leave your house. Universal basic income.
Yeah.
Good luck to the human race. And I'd say this to people like, oh, mate, you're fucking crazy. No, it's pretty much right on cue with the timelines they've all predicted since they were able to get artificial intelligence to the point.
The fucking speed it's moving now is astronomical as well.
Yeah.
They've gone from fucking being able to put somebody's face onto something, to that face moving, to being a full 3D character, to being indiscernible from a real fucking person. I've sent something to a mate the other day going, fucking check this out, it's sick. And he's like, dude, that's AI. I was like, no, it's not. It was. I was like, fuck.
And you know what's crazy? And look, we're both not experts in this, but something that I saw. So all the big boys, so Sam Altman and OpenAI, and then you've got Elon and X, and you've got Google. And there's one more as well, right? So they're all racing to build the bigger data center, because the bigger the data center is, the better the compute. And at the end of the day, if you've got better compute, well, then you can go, what is the cure for cancer? Do it. And it'll figure it out, right? Once you give it the right inputs. So they're all racing to build the biggest data center that they can, but because they're doing that, they're actually solving energy. So the data centers are so big that, and they're running so hot within them, that they're all water cooled, right? The actual chips from NVIDIA that they use, that are GPUs instead of CPUs, and the only difference is like more energy required in the GPU because it can do more compute. They're actually see-through so that water can run through the actual fucking chip to cool it down, right? So these huge data centers with thousands of chips per CPU, per like little block in there, it's having water run through, right? It's about 100,000 gallons a day is the one that OpenAI is using for water. So because that's completely unsustainable, we'll run out of water as soon as everybody goes, oh, no way, AI does everything now? All the water's going to run out because it wouldn't be cost effective enough to continue cooling the units for the amount of usage they're going to get on their app. When people realize, like, write a book, So what they've done is they've created a closed cooling system where all of the water that's evaporated doesn't leave the facility. It becomes water again and then is used again. So they've completely
internal weather system
made close to a 100% recycling system for the water cooling, right? Crazy. And then to power the electricity, to power the water, to power the GPUs, they're building small nuclear reactors to power the plants. And because there's a financial incentive, and this is what's great about capitalism, the innovation is fucking through the roof. So these people not only are going to solve AI and computing and every single one of the world's issues, they're also going to solve the energy issue that we have. It would be more likely for them to solve the energy issue than any government in the world right now, because they're putting more resources directly into it. The same way that, and I know people hate Elon Musk, especially since it's been political, but I really like the Walter Isaacson biography about Elon Musk. Figuring out how to put solar panels on everybody's roofs. Well, you charge them nothing, and then Solar City's done it. How do we make rechargeable batteries? Well, he's done it. Why? Because there was a financial incentive. There is a financial incentive right now to figure out energy, and they're going to fucking do it. I'm pretty bullish on that. So one of these tech companies, and again, you can't invest in them because they don't need your money. They're not publicly traded because they've already got it, because they've gone, hey, there's trillions of dollars in this. Like, you want to throw in some billions? Yes. So they haven't had to open it up to the public to fundraise for it. These guys are going to fucking solve energy and then also be in control of what is going to be the most powerful AI in the world. And it was funny listening to one of the CEOs. He goes, because an interviewer asked him, why are you doing this so rapidly? Why do you want to be first? He goes, well, I think people should, maybe people don't want to pay $25 a month for ChatGPT. So we want to get it to a point where it's cost effective, so it's not as expensive. There is no way that they're going to do that. There's going to be a $25,000 option for businesses and enterprise, the same way that there is for MailChimp, CRM, and all these other things, where if you buy the biggest one, you can compete on the same playing fields as other businesses. There is no way in hell they don't turn down all the other subscription models up to $25,000, and then you can only compete if you're paying the top range for one. So I think rich people are about to get a lot richer, and I'm really concerned about the future of society. and fuck knows how the Defence Force, by the way, deals with this.
Oh, technology, fucking, yeah, especially our Defence Force that are stuck in fucking World War II. Yeah. Same manuals and fucking procedures.
Bureaucracy, can't get anything to change.
I remember I transferred to officer. I was an officer cadet for a couple of years. and going through the training and doing all the fucking infantry minor tactics and stuff. And it was all like open source. I'm like, so fucking China has access to our training tactics. How the fuck do we expect to go to war when they know exactly what we're going to fucking do?
Left, right, up the guts. Oh, it's crazy, man. I've always thought that strategically the craziest thing about the Australian Army, and it stems from LOAC and the rules of armed conflict as to why we still act like a conventional force. But I think we should realise the size of our defence force leads itself to guerrilla tactics. And there's a really great book by Che Guevara, of all people, and not a fucking communist, but he wrote a fucking brilliant book on guerrilla tactics. It's about 90 pages. With that book, you could run the army. This sounds like something crazy, but if you were to run that book to the doctrine, to the key, you could run the Australian Army better than what it is, utilising guerrilla tactics. It's mental. We just had a however many year-long war in Afghanistan against a much smaller enemy force with the entire coalition, raining down on it. They had way less equipment, way less technology, and the doctrine that they utilised is Che Guevara's book, and they put up a pretty bloody good fight and are now currently the winners.
Yeah, right.
Why don't we do that? Especially considering we probably got a similar-sized army.
Yeah, we're definitely fucking the little fellas.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What do you reckon the ratio is from fiction and non-fiction with what you read?
At the moment, I'm reading fiction, and that's the key question I get as well when I'm giving speeches at school. What about fiction books? I love fiction books. Fiction books are great. The best fiction books are the best stories that are applicable to real life. But for myself, it just depends on the stage of my life that I'm in. If I come across an interesting topic, at the moment, you can probably tell I've been reading a lot about artificial intelligence and computer science. So that's what I'm reading at the moment. It's mainly nonfiction. But sometimes, let's say I have a shit day or a shit week, or I'm fucking stressed because I've got to fucking fundraise $1 million for New South Wales ambulance service. I'll figure it out. Then I might read a fiction book and just chill out for a little bit. But yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, geez, reading, it changes your mind. And it's, weirdly enough, it's the single, it's the most likely habit to lead to long-term wealth. It's the biggest habit to lead to long-term wealth. Why are we telling our children that? It's like, hey, if you can do one thing, do you want to be rich? They go, yeah. Hey, guess what the most important habit is for long-term wealth? Reading.
Read a book.
Why can't we fucking tell every child that?
Kids love reading without any fucking...
Kids love it.
I'll put my daughter to bed and then I'll just hear her fucking... It's like reading a book out loud to herself.
Yep. And it's crazy, right? And, we go to university, we send our children to school for 12 years and then us as adults. So we all agree in unison, and I know it's illegal not to send your child to school in Australia, but we all agree that that's important. Education. 12 years, we all get sent to more or less a prison, right? To hold us there for 12 years, do something that if we had the choice, we wouldn't be doing a lot of the time. And then we leave school and we go, never doing that again. And then our kids go, Dad, where am I going? We're going to school for 12 years, buckaroo. Why? Well, education's important. Well, what's your education? What are you doing in your life? And they go, I haven't read a book in years. It's crazy. It's back to front. And then it's wild to me as well that we teach, the first book that any kid picks up is not even written in English. It's Shakespeare. It's written in middle 17th century English.
Fucking English
Can't
class.
even enjoy it. How the hell does that make sense? So my first experience with a book I'm forced to read is awful. And then someone like me comes along who runs a book charity. Doesn't happen often, but someone like me comes along and goes, you should consider reading more books. And you go, no, it's the last time someone told me that I read Hamlet and it was
Fucking
shit.
suck.
I remember one line from the book and nothing else. To be or not to be. Shakespeare is not to be. Like, isn't that crazy? Whereas if we put a really popular book, fiction, that children love and young adults love is Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist. I don't know if you've ever read The Alchemist.
Yeah,
Pretty cover. People love that book. It's about adventure. It's about journey. It's about trusting your gut instinct. It's about letting the universe decide and just going with the flow. People read that book. It changes their lives. People buy vans and travel for the rest of their lives because of that book. and we give them fucking Shakespeare instead. What is going on? That's a weird one, right? That's fucking weird that we give kids
That's just
Shakespeare.
a perfect example of
Prussian military,
Prussian education
with
system.
the
times.
Prussian education system. Hey, here's a really good book. Oh, really? It's one of the best books ever written. Really? It's shit. No. That's one of the best books ever.
Stop talking like that in the fucking 18th century.
Imagine what these other books are like. If this is the best one, this is fucking shit. I'm not picking up another book. That's what I thought.
Turns you off them, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Do you watch TV?
Yeah, I watch TV. Yeah. I think it's part of getting into a relationship. But I'll tell you something. I'll tell you when I feel better about myself is when 7 p.m. rolls around and whenever you finish your dinner, you've washed up, the house is clean, you're done work for the day, you showered up, you don't turn on the TV and you read a book. I know that always makes me feel better than when I watch TV. Same way they're going to the gym makes me feel better than not. Same way they're getting a good night's sleep makes me feel better. What my main message is just incorporate reading into some sort of routine. You will feel better for it. You'll know more words. You'll be able to communicate more clearly. And you'll stand out. And no matter what it is that your objective or your goal or your future vision holds, reading has the answers somewhere within a book from someone who's probably done it before. So they are truly, there's a quote, I think they're called transportable magic. Someone smarter than me said that, but it's so true because pretty much everything that you could even think about doing has been done before, and the best person at it has written an instruction manual to do it again. So if you want to start a business, go and read the best author in the world about business. I went to a show with the owner of Nutrition Warehouse, right? And he noticed me wearing this shirt. And I didn't know him from a bar of soap, and he saw the shirt. And on the back of my shirt, it says, "Buy books, not drugs." Is what my shirt says. And he goes, "What the fuck is this?" And that's my charity. Try and promote reading and bibliotherapy. He goes, "Can I tell you a secret?" And I knew who he was because he was in our party. Fucking rich, right? He goes, "Can I tell you a secret?" He goes, "I only ever passed year 10. I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah. So I've got no formal education." He goes, "Currently, Nutrition Warehouse has about 167 stores. I've got thousands of employees. Our fucking EBITDA is X amount of millions of dollars per year. We own this percentage of market share across Australian across Australian supplements. Pretty fucking successful." I said, "It's very successful, mate. You've got a massive dick, don't you?" He goes, "I've got a huge dick, Dylan." He goes, "But it's not the point." That didn't happen. So he tells me about how successful it is. And he prefaced it with, "I've got a year 10 education." He goes, "I read one book. It's called Jim Collins' Good to Great. It's about companies and strategy, corporate strategy." I said, "Okay." He goes, "And I read it and I started Nutrition Warehouse. And then every year I've read it again and I've implemented one of the chapters of the books across the business. And every year I just implement the next chapter and I reread the entire book every year. And all I've been doing since I started this is fucking doing what the book told me to do." And he goes, "Mate, I'm a multi-millionaire just because of one fucking book." And I said, "And mate, so is Elon Musk," because that's what he was doing when he was a kid. There's a really great author I love, Naval Ravikant. He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He was an Indian American, so immigrated to America. Father died. Only a single mum. Mum worked 3 jobs to pay for him. She couldn't pick him up from school, so she said, "Naval, fucking wait in the library, mate." So every day I went to the library after school. He read hundreds of books, now worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Shit upbringing, fucking immigrant, no fucking, 2 parents. Dad died, probably horrific. But he had books because they're free. They're down at the library. Worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Oprah Winfrey, fucking reading books all of the time. This story is the same time and time and time again. So if you go to someone that you consider to be super wealthy, super successful, and finances are not everything, of course, but if you see someone that you believe to be successful and you ask them what books had an impact on your life, likely it will have the similar impact on yours. What a fucking important question. And we meet interesting people every day. You go, "What book changed your life?" People fucking read books. It changes their lives every day. I met a kid, police officer. He goes, "Yeah, I was 40 kilograms overweight. I read Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I lost all the weight. He goes, look at me, mate. Lifts up his shirt, 6-pack. Oh, mate, that is fantastic. What a bizarre effect. 4 hours of your time changed your fucking life. You went from being fat to now being shredded. How's he going with the women? Fucking all over me, mate. Look at my 6-pack. Shows me your 6-pack again. I said, that's wonderful. So you've realized the power of reading, how one book, just 4 hours, this book change your entire life for years to come. 4 hours of investment, a lifetime of reward, right? I said, and he goes, yeah, that's right. And I said, what have you read since? He goes, oh, nothing. I said, you're a fucking idiot, mate. But it's just funny, isn't it? Human beings, like, obviously, they always say, the best investment is one that you can make in yourself. Education is that. Cliches are cliche for a reason. They're often right. But isn't it funny? This kid fucking changes his life, reads one book, and then refuses to read another one. And then other people as well, they'll get halfway through a book and won't pick up another book for years because they didn't like the book that they were reading. And so a question I get asked often is,
I've done that.
Yeah. If you don't like it, fuck it off. You don't need to finish a book. It's not like a workout, but even a workout, you feel sore.
I can't start another one until I finish that one.
Yeah.
Fucking no one sucks.
Yeah. That is actually a good analogy I'm going to use. If my quads feel tender during a workout, I have to leave because I'm in fucking pain. It's a bad workout. I leave. I can come back or I just do a new workout, but I can't keep going with that. So just change it up. Change it up. It doesn't need to be the final. No one's going to judge you. Maybe it's the Fyodor Dostoevsky thing. You're like, well, people will know. You didn't really finish that book.
What happened in the end?
Oh, fuck me. But yeah.
What's your opinion on audio books?
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely. Podcasts are brilliant. Audiobooks are great. It all incites curiosity, My partner, like many females, fucking hates Joe Rogan. Now, I don't know why she hates Joe Rogan. I don't particularly like Joe Rogan as a guy. I don't care about him. I'm not emotive about it. I don't give a shit. But the reason I listen to that podcast is because there's so many topics covered that I'll hear one. And most of the time I go, oh, this is fucking shit. Almost 90% of the time, it's fucking shit. But the last 10%, someone will mention a topic that I'm like, oh, what the fuck is that? Or I'll get a lot of books from it because they'll bring on some guy who's a leading expert in his field and he'll be talking about his field. And I was like, what an interesting man or woman, and buy the book. So yeah, audiobooks, absolutely, because it leads to new pursuits and new curiosities and new solutions.
Yeah.
And it's especially a lot better than nothing at all.
Yeah. Yeah, you're still taking it in.
Yeah.
So it's not the hard print that makes a difference. It's, It's the information.
There is neuroscience to suggest that your memory will be better reading a hardcover book, and the mindfulness impacts on your actual stress. And
I think the mindfulness for sure,
Yeah.
Because you're locked in. Once you get over that, what I said of rereading the same paragraph 5 times and you actually lock in, then yeah, like you said, everything else fades away and fucking you're in it.
It's funny, like when you are distracted, you are thinking about your life most of the time. You're considering, like you're never thinking about the news or the shit you see on social media. You're normally like, oh, maybe I should fucking make more time for, and then you're like, oh shit. And you go back to the page. Yeah. That's mindfulness.
True, yeah. Fucking, obviously you're real passionate about it.
Oh, fucking love it. Hopefully I haven't sworn a lot on here.
That's fucking oath. It's not that kind of podcast. Unfiltered. It's one of the catchphrases.
Good.
Cool, man. Fucking awesome chat. Anything else you want to push or plug or fucking?
No, just if you want to be rich, read books. If you want a strong relationship, read books. If you want to learn to own your emotions, read books. And if you're ever feeling upset, sad, or you're having a bout of depression, do all the things that everybody will tell you to do. Sleep, eat well, drink lots of water, see a psychologist, get help, pharmacology if you can. But also add books in there as well because it could just change your life.
Best medicine.
Laughter is, but well, yeah, I told you. No, just add that in, and hopefully we can start getting some serious advocacy towards the psychologists to get them. The best psychologists give out books anyway. Let's just get everybody giving out books when people are having a hard time, and I think it'll make a dramatic improvement for society.
They do mention them, eh? I had my psych one time mention a couple of books for me.
Yep.
Try reading this. Cool, man. Lovely.
All right.
Love
thanks
it.
so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on.